the England team walking out to the middle. They've had a really good first session of the day. 48 runs Pakistan scored in 26 overs for the loss of 3 wickets, and it began badly for them when Babar Azam was out. The last ball of the first over from Jimmy Anderson. Jimmy Anderson hadn't had a great day with the ball yesterday when he bowled so much better today. Really, really probing, accurate spell from the Brian Statham end. Stuart Broad had bowled from the Jimmy Anderson end, or James Anderson end. And there was a while there when they just couldn't score a run. 11 overs, 11 runs, 2 wickets at the start of the day. And then Woakes just chipped in with a couple of wickets himself. Broad was very unlucky not to get a couple of LBWs, a very close one to Shan Masood, little tiniest of inside edges. If indeed it was an inside edge, it's very difficult for the third umpire to judge, but it had been given not out on the field, so it remained not out. And then Mohammad Rizwan survived a really unusual edge onto the pad, because it was a lesser spotted outside edge. It's a ball had sort of
good ball, wasn't
come
it?
in and held its line, or even just moved away a touch and turned the batsman around and got a tiny little thin outside edge onto the pad. But he survived, and Pakistan are sort of teetering a little bit here, because they did lose Rizwan to possibly the ball of the day, or the match you might say, from Chris Woakes. It was absolutely perfect. It looked like a Jimmy Anderson ball. If you just watched the ball, you'd have thought that's a perfect Jimmy Anderson ball. It just held its line with a glorious seam position. Anyway, first ball of the day, and it's Dom Best of the day, first ball of the session, rather.
No, it's not, it's Joe Root.
Oh, it's not, you're right, it's Joe Root, of course, thank you for that. It's Joe Root from the Statham end, and he's been driven down to third man by Shadab Khan.
Must be bad light out there.
Well, it's my bad eyesight, I think.
No, I meant the fact that Root's on.
Oh, I see.
Actually, it's not. It's 2, 3,
Yeah.
4,
It's 5
overs to the new ball. I thought they would open with Dom Best and a seamer, but Joe likes a bowl, and he's captain.
Yes.
And he's got a few wickets, and the ball has spun.
That first ball, I must say, went for 3. Took Shadab to 4 and Pakistan to 190 for 5. There are 2 slips in for Joe Root to the left-handed Shan Masood. And he comes around the wicket, does Root, and forward in defence comes Shan Masood. And the plan is clear here. England want to scurry through 5 overs.
Well, they'd like to get a wicket.
They'd
too,
love
right?
to, yeah. Well, ideally, Shan Masood, who's been out there for a very long time, the entirety of the Test match so far, he has 77 from 226 balls. Root is into him, and he goes back and cuts into the offside. He'll get a single as it goes out to, let's say, a deepish extra cover. He's saving 2, Chris Woakes, sort of on the edge of the imaginary square, and he's now going to go out to deep mid-wicket. The field for the right-hander, a leg slip, forward short leg, 3 in the ring on the onside, and a deep mid-wicket as Root is round the wicket to him. Swept powerfully out through deep backward square, and that should go for 4. So, after saying that Pakistan had gone nowhere in the first session, they've just picked up 8 runs off the first 4 balls of this possibly speculative Root over.
I mean, I'm surprised he's going for the... I presume he was going to bowl Best at the other end because he got the ball to turn and bounce against Shadab, but I'm surprised he's going for the double. And Shadab is not going to hang around. Hang on a minute, don't care when the new balls come in. Root's on, I'm going to hit him.
Root in, he goes back and cuts into the offside. Sibley does the fielding, indeed, in the covers. Because about
4 there too.
5 yards in front of square. 195 for 5. Shadab has moved to 8. Root is in again. That's defended into the onside short leg. Ollie Pope will pick up end of the over, an expensive over, one of the most expensive overs of the day, I would warrant. 8 from it.
The most expensive over of the day.
Felt like it. I wonder how long the Root experiment will continue.
Well,
76 overs have been bowled, so 4 until a new ball is available.
It might go to the 80th over, but I think, actually, I'd rather have... I'm perfectly happy for spin at one end because you might get a wicket, and I think I'd just say give it to Woakes for a couple of overs or someone else.
From the Archer, perhaps? I mean,
anyone.
Archer's not going to take the new ball.
I just think that Shadab, especially, he'll probably get a wicket there, but Shadab sense an opportunity. Hang on, I could pick up half a dozen quick, cheap runs here, or maybe a bit more.
Now, look at this. We've got a... What are we calling that? Silly bit off? He's a sort of silly bit off. He's very close in, is Pope, and a slip.
It's a bit sort of straight for silly point, isn't he? Right on the extra cover line.
Yes. Bess is in to the left-handed Masood. That skips on, and he just gets a bat on it, manages to late dab it down to the third man region, but Jofra Archer runs around from point, dives, and stops the ball from going down to the boundary. They do collect a single, though, and irksomely for Dom Bess, it means that the right-handed Shadab comes on strike. And I fancy he would rather be bowling to the left-hander. Pope now takes one step to his right and turns instantly into a forward short leg, which is one of the wonders of cricket.
Looks like he's going to stay round the wicket, Dom Bess, is he? He's doing it. He's waving his arms a lot, Dom Bess. I'll set the field, don't worry.
There's all sorts of field changes here. Rory Burns is coming towards, I think, leg slip.
Yeah.
And yes, there's all sorts of movement. We have a deep mid-wicket, a deep backward square leg. Mid-on and mid-off, I'm imagining, are going to be, Anderson's moving more into a sort of wide mid-on, more like a mid-wicket, really.
Well, Root's at mid-on, I suppose. But there's much conversation. I wonder how aggressive Shadab will be. He looked like he fancied getting after Root, having blocked his way against the seamers early before lunch.
Bess comes round the wicket then to the right-handed Shadab, who gets a horrible short ball and Pope ducks out of the way, and Shadab waits for it, was thinking about playing a murderous full-blooded pull, and in the end just dabs it into the ground, very square of the wicket, the leg side, and collects a single. It was a very odd ball and an odd bit of cricket.
Yeah, it was. But I think what happened was that it was short, but it did suddenly pop, turn and bounce a bit. So
Alarmingly.
he adapted.
So it is alarming, this. The left-hander's back on strike, though. Bess bowls to him, and he cuts again to Archer. They go through for a quick single, but they get there as Archer, perhaps slightly on his heels there at backward point. And the score advances to 198 for 5. It's all frenetic. Everything's happening suddenly. We've seen no runs
and I
to
think,
speak of.
I don't think the old pros will be liking this. The Broads and the Andersons, who bowled so tightly, and now runs are coming too easy after all that toil.
Bess to the right-hander, Shadab. And that's a horrible ball that's short and is swung round the corner. It's going to run away down to the boundary. Archer is after it, but he's not going to reach it. It's gone down to a sort of conventional long leg position where you will not have a fielder for the spinner. I wonder if this is a function of his angle coming round the wicket. It's too short again.
Yeah,
it did turn.
He's been bowling a lot to left-handers, and it's as if he's got his line organised to bowl to a left-hander, but it's two bad balls he bowled.
Horrid ball.
I think England are being too cute here.
200.
They've got bowlers galore.
202 for 5.
He's going to come over the wicket now, Bess, where he's looked more comfortable against the right-handers. Ball has turned, but he hasn't quite got his length right.
Well, it can turn, but if you bowl it halfway down the pitch
it doesn't make much difference there.
No. Right, he tosses the ball from hand to hand, comes in off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 paces, and they're swept again, and this time Archer can get to it as it's not quite so fine. Archer runs in off the deep backward square leg boundary to keep the scoring to just the 1. 203 for 5. Shadab has scored 13 runs since lunch, and we've only had 11 balls.
There's a certain logic. He said, I've really struggled against the seamers. They've put a couple off spinners on, albeit to get to the new ball. Well, I'm going to make merry. And they haven't bowled very well at him either.
The left-hander's on strike, the last ball of the over, and that's a better delivery. On-off stump, comes on with the arm and is just defended into the offside, where Pope picks up at that sort of short, silly mid-off, really, position. End of the over, the 77th of the innings. 203 for 5. Shan Masood, a painstaking, gritty 80 from 230 balls. Shadab opening his shoulders a little bit here, 14 from 21. And I think the route... The route gambit's continuing, yes.
It's almost...
Well, you're
not exactly a pressure of pride, but there's still 3 overs to go to the new ball. I mean, if they go at this rate, it's another 20 runs. I mean, I don't suppose they will score that quickly, but runs were such a premium before lunch, and now, partly because they haven't bowled very well, but partly because Shadab is not going to hang around.
Roots round the wicket to Shadab, who pushes into the onside to mid-wicket, where Anderson trots to his right to field. I was in conversation with Stefan Schemmelt and Andy Zaltzman during the lunch break, because we never stop.
No.
Roots in, forward in defence comes Shadab to a much better ball, full and on around off stump. Root fields off his own bowling. about, and you were party to this conversation, but you were slightly off-put by it, if you recall.
I think I know what you're going to go to, yeah. Yeah, it's quite complicated.
His route is swept down to deep backward square leg by Shadab. Went down on one knee, connecting with them nicely. 204 for 5. And Stefan had established that when a side bats in the first innings of a match against England in the last 8 years and scores over 180, I mean, in reality over 250, because no one really scored between 180 and 250, they win the game. Root in to the left-handed Shan Masoodi drives to mid-off. They go for a quick single. Archer throws, misses, and it's backed up at what was sort of backward square leg in the end. To miss the stumps by quite a margin. One more to the total. One more to Shan Masoodi, moves to 81, 205 for 5. And
so if Pakistan get 250,
yes, well,
you can switch off your radios because you know who's going to win.
Well, that's not my point, because I think we all know that cricket will have to be played and matches are different, and indeed it's only the last 8 years, but it's indicative of what is a good score in the first innings of a match in England. Root is around the wicket to the right-handed Shadab, who goes back into his crease and defends slightly, both feet pointing back down the pitch, and Root fields off his own bowling. So, one wonders what is a good score batting first. And what we've sort of learnt from the last 8 years or so, Root is in again, shorter again, swung around the corner off a bit of maybe battle glove and hip, and he'll get a run for it as long leg comes down, as leg by is signalled by umpire Kettleborough at the end of another unremarkable over, but it's one that gets England closer to the new ball, which is their very clearly stated endeavour
but
here.
the frustration, it's not just that, is that they've got
206
plenty of bowlers to get to the new ball. They've got a bowler-heavy lineup, so they don't have to do this. They've chosen to do that, partly because they think they might sneak a wicket, particularly against a left-handed Masood who's batted for 78 overs, it must be said.
Well, Broad's warming up.
Yeah,
So
don't worry, they'll take it on time the way things are going,
Well,
unless they get a wicket, of course.
I just wonder if they might switch for the 80th over. He gives the bowler an over to sort of warm up, perhaps. I don't know, or maybe they'll just continue with Root, but
They might do. Give him the 80th over, perhaps. He'd like a new ball, please.
they've been a bit leaky, though, in these
They
three
certainly have.
overs since
19
lunch.
off 3.
Bess in to the right-handed Shadab, who pushes forward in defence. Full delivery, which is squeezed into the covers. Bess moves to his left to field, and there's no run. And that's for that's sides batting first against England. I think it'd be interesting to see what England also have scored in first innings and how often they've lost with scores under 250. I get the feeling that 250 in the first innings of a match in England is proving to be quite an important target to reach. As Bess comes trotting in from the Anderson end to Shadab, who swings at this and doesn't get much contact on it. Manages to shank it out to square leg, where Jofra Archer has to come in from the boundary to field. One more to the total. Shadab to 16, 207 for 5. He likes to go down on that back leg, doesn't he, Shadab? Yeah. The right leg, and then give it a real biff with a horizontal bat. And
well, he had one at lunch. He's now got 16. Not all off the middle of the bat, you're right. There have been some quite low-scoring tests in England over the last few years, I think.
Best the left-hander who dabs at this slightly away from his body, pushes it to City Point region, and Pope just has to move a few paces to his right to collect.
The old Duke balls kept moving around, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You don't get many draws now.
You certainly don't, unless the weather really intervenes. Bess in, round arm, and fires it into off stump. It's pushed back up the wicket, and actually Shadab Khan nearly picked the ball up at the non-striker's end, but then thought better of it. Anderson tidies up, gives it back to Bess. A couple of balls left in the 79th over. England would love a wicket before that new ball. They'd love the left-hander. And so forward comes Masood, gets a thick inside edge. There are groans as that nearly got through his defences. It squirted to short square leg, and Chris Wokes had to run in to collect. One more to the total. Shadab has 16. Shan Masood with that moves to 82, 208 for 5.
It's a really good little single there. You know, it shows really the scoring rate's been pretty slow in this innings, but they've tried to take every single run that's available.
Last ball of the over. Bess in, fires it into leg stump, pushes it back up the wicket. Does Shadab. Bess fields with an air of a lack of gruntle. Let's put it that way.
Well, he probably won't get another over now for some considerable time, and in fact he'll hope not to bowl again in this innings, because that was over 79.
Yep.
Joe Root is going to stick with plan A post-lunch, where there have been so far 21 runs in the 4 overs, and he's going to bowl the 80th, and after that, well, come what may. Unless, is he going to give Broad the... He's thinking about it. No, he's going to bowl himself.
Yeah,
I think.
he's got the headband on. Is that the key? He takes the headband on and off.
Oh, does he? Does he not field in a headband? Has he not had a haircut?
I've seen it off, and now I've seen it on. I think he suits the headband myself. I mean, maybe I'm just jealous because he has hair to band. It is going to be Root, and his first ball is dabbed cleverly into the onside square of the wicket, and Shan Masood gets off strike with another well-taken single, 209 for 5.
If you call it a sweatband rather than a headband, then you can wear it without much hair on your head, I thought.
Yeah. I think it would look a bit try-hard on either of us, to be brutally honest.
A bit try-hard.
Yeah. Tossed up and defended on the front foot by Shadab. Butler trots around to collect. There's no run. Well, wouldn't it? You know, I sort of think of McEnroe and Borg, really, when I think of these headbands.
Yeah.
Round the wicket, it's Root swept powerfully out to deep backward square leg. It's being pursued. It will be stopped on the boundary by Chris Wokes, running to his right from mid-wicket. Fires in the throw pretty much over the top of the stumps. 2 more, 211 for 5.
Yeah.
Shadab to 18.
Lily, he had good sweatbands, didn't he?
Yeah.
You wouldn't tell him that looks a bit try-hard, Dennis, would you?
I wouldn't say anything to Dennis Lilly that wasn't enormously complimentary. Would you? Did you?
Oh, no. Not when I was playing. I mean, he's delightful.
Root again is swept. It's again too far for the leg stump, and it's again very well fielded. This time on the deep backward square leg boundary by Dom Bess, running to his left from a sort of long leg position. And again there are 2 more. Shadab's on 20 out of nowhere. He was on 1.
I know, and I'd be...
You're a bit
grumpy.
exercised by this, aren't you?
I am. 20 runs could be significant in this match.
Well, it's getting them closer to that magical 250. Swept again. I can't see where that went.
It went straight to Rory Burns at square leg, who fielded it well. It was travelling. It might have been in the air for a fraction, actually. But it didn't carry to him, but he middled it. It could have been 4, but for the Burns intervention.
I lost it there. Root, last ball of the over, is defended at the offside. They're going through for another quick single. Shy at the stumps is not unforthcoming from Sibley, who's not perhaps the most nimble in the covers. And another smartly taken single. 214 for 5. 80 overs have been bowled. That was a very curious 18 minutes of play. Let's hope it is never repeated. Shan Masood has 83. Shadab Khan has 21.
Well, I mean, first of all, it was... I think we were trying to be too cute. We'll put our spinners. It's turning a bit. We might sneak a wicket. But as it's happened, they have mustered 27 runs in 5 overs without really suffering any alarms. And I think they were being a bit too clever there, England. They would. I could understand Root and Asima. Sorry, not Root. Bess and Asima. But I also admire the fact that Pakistan, in particular Shadab, has assessed this situation. The sort of easy thing to say, well, I've got a block to make sure I'm there for the new ball. But instead, he's been impish, sweeping constantly, timing it well most of the time, and he has shot to 21.
20 off 20 balls since lunch.
Yeah, the new ball has been taken. I'm getting out of the way. Jonathan Agnew's back, and Andy has been searching a stat for us, just to let you know, Jonathan.
Well, look at this scoring 250 or more in tests in England. So starting with away teams since 2012, there haven't really been many scores between 179, which Australia scored at Leeds last year in that extraordinary game where they almost and probably should have won, but for Nathan Lyon's buttered fingers, as Broad prepares to start with the new ball.
He does. Here we go. The sun's out as well, and he's bowling to Shadab, who's made a busy 21, and the first ball is hit firmly into the ground, doesn't go very far, and Broad is able to pick it up as he follows through. So, key part of the game. Pakistan 214 for 5.
I'm coming over old pro-ish here by that little spell of cricket. And what I'm thinking is, throughout that morning session, England yielded 48 runs in 2 hours. Broad and Anderson in particular were utterly miserly, put pressure on, got wickets. And then suddenly, in 20 minutes, 27 runs,
Yes.
because they've tried to be cute by bowling 2 off-spinners.
Broad runs in, bowls it short and mistimed horribly there, a pull shot, but it lands just in front of mid-wicket. And they'll pick up a single. It's an exciting Shadab.
And the consequence of that is that Shadab, who got 1 run in 14 balls against the Seabirds before lunch, has suddenly got the flavour.
Yeah.
So I'm with my England hat on, I'm a bit exasperated by that little tactic. I mean, it could have been a stroke of genius if Root had picked up a Masood caught at slip, but somehow it didn't seem like that to me.
I'll get Best going. I think.
Yeah,
he
but
did
1
that
and
before
1,
lunch.
but-
Yes, exactly. But perhaps not Root as well.
No.
215 for 5. So Shan Masood is down on strike with his slips, 3 of them. Burns a little further away than a third slip would be, so more of a fourth really. And Broad comes round the wicket to the left-hander, is there and he bowls, and he's playing from the crease, a ball on the off-stump. And that hard crack of the new ball on the bat. Anderson fields and gets to work on it. Presumably he'll be coming on from this end. Not much of a breeze today, it's just tugging at the flags a bit at the far end, but certainly not the strong winds of yesterday. And the cloud is just breaking up now too, so there's blue sky about. Much warmer feel to it all. 215 for 5. Shan Masood waits for Broad, who's there and he bowls and he flicks that away off his hip. That's a wonderful shot. He's very strong there. And he's hit that for 4. And that is an area you simply can't bowl to him. He flicked Broad for 4 yesterday. You could hear on the stump microphone Broad saying, "How's that gone for 4?" And that's another one. He really gives it a flourish.
Well, that's beautiful. He hasn't timed the ball better than that, Masood, in this innings. The hard ball, of course, it speeds off the bat, and it was leg side, and he just whipped it away beautifully.
Broad again, carrying his shadow with him. The slips are down. He comes round the wicket and bowls, and Shan Masood this time allows a length ball just outside the off stump to pass harmlessly by, to much applause from the slip cordon. Much rather Broad bowled there than the previous ball. And Anderson's going through that painstaking loosening up routine. How many times he's done that in his life? Still very wiry, very fit. Hands on his hips now, and Broad is ready to come in again. Down go the slips. Shan Masood waits for him and he bowls. Similar ball just outside that off stump. And Shan again lets it go by. So he's 87. 239 balls. He opened the innings yesterday. He's seen a fair amount of coming and going at the other end.
I think you've done your job as an opener if you're still there to combat the second new ball. He hasn't scored very quickly, but Pakistan are absolutely indebted to him. And they've just seized it. It's a bit like yesterday, actually. England were terrific in the first session yesterday. And they came out after lunch. Too much thinking over lunch. And they surrendered the initiative. Now with the new ball, Anderson and Broad will try and get it back. But it's one thing facing Anderson when you've got 1 run on your total. And you're scrapping around wondering where your next run's coming for. And suddenly Shadab's a youngster, but he's got 22 already.
Yep.
He's feeling good about himself. And if there's something there to hit, he's going to go for it, I think, with a hard ball. He looks like he's inclined to play his shots anyway.
Anderson is then to the right-handed Shadab. Watches that swing away. Definitely did swing. But he played no stroke at that. Started a little bit wide of the off stump. Anderson was drying his boots there in the sawdust. Is laid out at this end. It must have been a little bit damp out there. The legacy of yesterday's rain. 219 for 5. And some broad discussion.
There. What are those spinners doing?
Anderson again runs away from us and bowls almost got straight through Shadab. He got the length of that horribly wrong. And he was, well, back in his crease to ball really. He should have been trying to get into the front foot too. I think it was a good length delivery, really.
Whip past his inside edge and almost over the top of off stump. Masood's had a word, so
Yes.
you know, just keep watching the ball.
He's passed on quite a few coaching tips in this brief innings. He was horrified by the start of it, I think. Came down and it was quite stern. 2:19 for 5. Shadab's on 22. Anderson runs in Bolston. And again, that swings by outside the off stump. I think you missed some of the great excitement after lunch, by the way, outside.
What?
Well, whichever, and I assume, I didn't like to, I'm always displaying ignorance about virtually everything, but on this particular one, I didn't display a lack of knowledge. I think Shane Warne's Aussie rules team has won by 3 points.
Right.
And I think, as an Aussie would say, Shane's been through the ringer, watching it or following it or
I
something.
wonder which one that is.
Well, I don't know. We need to find out. Again, and Andy will find it. Then goes Anderson, bowls on the off stump, pushing to the offside, going for a quick single. 2:20 for 5. Footscray or somebody, I suppose.
Well, Aussie rules is huge.
Mind you,
in
are they
Melbourne.
playing? Are they playing in Melbourne?
Oh, they must be, I suppose. But it might be, but I don't know if they're playing in front of a crowd. But I mean, Aussie rules it's an amazing game because it's probably the biggest game in Australia.
Yes.
And of course, don't play anywhere else. It
I was
attracts
sent
huge crowds.
Sent to report on a game once. Remember they used to come across and play at the Oval every year?
Yeah.
I was sent once. I've never seen. The Today newspaper sent me off as part of my education all those years ago. And I didn't know any of the rules, and I didn't at the end of it either.
No.
It was a very confusing game. Anderson bowls and he feels for that, just goes past the edge, and Masood nods at Anderson and says, "Yep, that's okay." But they didn't find the edge. It didn't
No,
help.
I've watched it. It's
It was in very high winds,
Oh,
which I don't
right.
think helped. There's a lot of kicking involved in
Yeah.
Aussie rules, and the ball has basically sort of just been blown out of the oval. We found it, Andy.
No, I was looking up some cricket stats.
Oh, no. We moved on
sorry,
from that.
All right, I'll move on to another sport shortly.
Yes.
Visiting opening batsmen who've made it through to the second new ball in England.
Oh, that's much more interesting. There's Anderson bowls, and the guy's pushed across the left-hander who runs that down into the gully, and that ends a tidy first over for Anderson with this new ball. 2:20 for 5.
Since Mark Richardson did so for New Zealand at Lords in May 2004, in 46 times that England's visiting tourists have batted first in a test. This is only the fourth time the openers managed to make it through to the 81st over. Chris Rogers as the last to do it at Lords for Australia in 2015, a game in which England were brutally annihilated before coming back to win the series. Murali Vijay at Trent Bridge on a rather dead pitch in 2014, and Alvaro Peterson at Headingley for South Africa in 2012. So only 4 times in the last 16 summers and 46 innings.
Here comes Broad over the wicket, and Shadab an inside edge into the pad. And that runs away into the leg side. 2:21 for 5, thanks to Pete Noble, who tells us that Shane Warne supports St Kilda. So they just narrowly won by 3 points. There's great excitement outside. I think this is Melbourne at the moment. There's a real lockdown again.
78-74
There you go.
against Gold Coast Football Club.
Home or away?
If you look away, maybe. Depends if they do it the American way or the British way. In Aussie rules, I don't know, because American teams sport lists the home team second.
Do they?
Yes.
I didn't know that. Broad bowls, and there's a little bit of room there. Steers into the offside. Bess aims a shy at the stumps at the far end, but the throw's well over the top. But I think it's home anyway. But again, another example of some really positive running by the Pakistanis. 2:22 for 5. Amazing. I learn something new every day here. Thank you, Andy, for that. Did you know that, Victor?
No.
So American sports fixtures will say, Boston at New York rather than New York versus Boston, as we do here.
I wonder why they do that.
If you start wondering why Americans do things, we could be here for a very long time, Agus.
No, I accept that. I do accept that. But was it St Kilda at Gold Coast, or was it just St Kilda versus Gold Coast? It's Broad bowling and Shadab well forward to ball on the off stump. Finds Pope at point. We can save all this time just by asking him, actually. He's only next door. But anyway. A 4-point thriller. Broad polishes the ball, heads off into the distance. Hitches up the short sleeve of his shirt, pauses for a moment. And now on his way. Once more is there now, and he bowls, and Shadab's forward to full ball into the offside. They're stealing a single there, and the throw misses. And I think it might have gone that time. Up at the far end, and Pope missed the stumps from quite long range. Is backed up by Anderson, but they're just stealing these singles. It's really good cricket, I must say.
It's risky, but it's annoying England, I can tell you. That he's hit it straight to Pope. Had Pope hit...
No,
he's quick too.
Yeah,
he is quick. He was in. And he's going to bring the field. The field's got to come in closer, and then they're easier to beat.
Yep.
It's good stuff. I don't suppose Stuart's that enamoured of this.
No, he won't be. 2:23 for 5. With the new ball, Broad again comes in and bowls outside the off stump. Shah Massoud allows that by. He's on 88 now from 243 balls. John Powell. Thank you, John. Apparently the Great Britain Aussie Rules captain plays for Stonor Cricket Club. I'm not sure Stonor is. So there's a Great Britain team.
Oh, must be. It's a violent game, you know.
Oh, I know. 2:23 for 5. Broad. From the far end bowls, and Massoud drives. Doesn't really time that. And Sibley can field at cover. These two put on 47 now. And it's 223 for 5. There's lots of kicking, lots of marking, isn't there? Take high catches. It's very spectacular.
There's a lot of links between cricket and Australian rules football. A lot of Australian cricketers have played to a good level. I think Shane Warne himself was a good player in his youth. And the man credited with founding Australian rules football is a man called Thomas Wills, who I believe promoted the first cricket tour of England. An Aboriginal side came in 1868, and I believe he was the man behind that. So sort of the link between cricket and Aussie rules go back extremely long way.
We'll always find some sort of context to our offbeat conversation sometime. In goes Anderson, bowls. That's turned away by Shadab. He'll want 2 here if he can. Pope's in pursuit, picking the ball up, sliding across the ground as he does so, and then off balance has to throw. And again, very good running.
Well, this is terrific stuff from Shadab. He'll be annoying England's senior bowlers. He's scurrying singles, scurried a 2 there, seizing the initiative, and the game has changed hugely since lunch. When they've almost got as many since lunch as they got in the entire first session.
Yeah.
I shall go.
Well, I've got a bit of more information for you about that match if you're interested. Anderson bowls, and Shadab wants a single. No, he can't surely steal that one. He's sent back. It's overthrows. And this is what happens when you put pressure on the field like this. And they set off, or at least Shadab set off. And he was sent back immediately by his partner, and then Best came in full of enthusiasm as always, hurled the ball at the stumps with no one there backing it up. So they've got 2 runs in the end, but they should have had none. But they've got the England fielders on edge at the moment. They're aware of these runs being taken. Best's throw was wild. He threw it while he was on the ground.
That brought up the 50 partnership in just 13 overs and 1 ball.
Thanks to Neil Liversedge, Aussie Rules football, with Melbourne and Victoria being locked down, all the Melbourne teams are playing outside the state. So every game is away at the moment for the Victorian teams. There we go. Thank you very much indeed, Neil. Michael looks a bit nonplussed. We're talking about Shane Warne's excitement at St Kilda winning by 4 points.
Yeah, I've just been with Warne. He got his iPad out there watching.
He's very excited.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Pakistan are doing a job here.
They are.
Tip and run. Almost playing every time you hit it, you've got to get a single.
Yep. They've got the fielders.
Look how tight extra covers come in.
Fielders on the toes now. 2:27 for 5. Shadab's on 29. Anderson runs up and he bowls. Germany's forward again. He sets off a pace or two, although the ball barely dribbles down to Bess, who's fielding in the gully.
Well, you could argue that extra cover and mid-wicket, that they're almost on the drive for the catch.
Yeah.
But they're not. They're in just to try and save the single. Mid-on and mid-off are in nice and close as well. It's been a really good partnership. Just grabbing the game back here, Pakistan, aren't they?
Certainly are. So we put on 51 now. And after that really good start for England today, when Anderson removed Babar in the first over, they are certainly they're getting back because of the amount of spin that we've seen from Bess predominantly. Anderson over the wicket, bowls, it's short and cracked away. That's 4. Flew past Bess, who's had to come in quite close. And he got a lot of bat on that. And I don't think Bess even moved.
Well, Shadab Khan has been selected as just an all-round quality with the bat. Very still there. You see him trigger early, but he's in such a still position before the release of the ball. Wonderful stroke, but his leg spin, he's a brilliant fielder. He's just one of those cricketers. I imagine captains and coaches just love having him around to make things happen. And he's causing a little bit of chaos here. He's 33 from 47.
He's creating a lot of chaos. But again, Sibley, look how close he is there at extra cover. Anderson's not happy. He's talking to Joffer Archer about something at mid-on.
What do you reckon they're talking about?
I don't know.
He's having a laugh.
It seems to be.
Joffer's made him chuckle. Not many do that.
No, not when he's been cracked for 4. Anderson again runs in bowls and Shadab on the back foot. There's a very nice looking defensive stroke, which Broad fields at mid-off.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
What Jimmy Smiloff had been hit before.
Well, it was a proper chuckle. Joffer's obviously produced a bit of magic there. Let's see if he does it again now. Look.
He's talking to Broad now instead. Well, how can England end this partnership? Shadab's on 33.
Well, it could be a run out.
That's probably favourite actually at the moment. Slips are ready, hands on knees. Anderson's there and he bowls and Shadab's forward. And again he's sent back after what would be a suicidal single. But he's just winding the fielders up. Sibley was so close there and was in very quickly. I don't think he's really intending to run on those ones. He's just playing havoc with the field. It's excellent cricket. And you wonder why batsmen don't do it all the time. You see the impact that it has and the runs that they've stolen and the way they've brought the field in and the mistakes that have been made, the overthrows.
Well, I think it's been clearly a ploy by Pakistan to try and do. They did it yesterday. It's been a good ploy.
Now Roots had a word with Broad because of course at the other end they've got Masood, who's just absolutely weighed anchor. 88 from 244 balls. He's been batting for 84 overs now. Did get those couple of chances yesterday. And Broad's coming in and bowling to him with a grunt. He's got some runs there. He's got 4 of them. And goes into the 90s. Leaning back, is running that away. Oh, like a one-day shot, really. Through the slips and down to the third man boundary.
The second new ball is travelling. It's not doing anything quite like we saw the old ball do this morning. Playing very nice. That's a glorious shot. Just let it come. Knows exactly where the space is. He scored a lot of runs down to third man. There's been a few off the edge. That was played. Just let it glide off the face of the bat, like a one-day shot.
Ball's returned to Broad. Has a look at it. And now he's rushing in again, and he bowls. And so this time it's forward. So a good length ball on the off stump. Broad snatches at the ball there. It's played back up the pitch to him. Not happy. These two bowlers hate giving away boundaries, and they've both conceded one now in consecutive overs. And that's another sure sign of a fielding side that's trying to regain a bit of control. All that shouting, clapping of hands and of gloves there. Joss Butler was doing a lot of that shouting, trying to get minds refocused. Broad's on his way, and he bowls outside the off stump. No stroke required and none given.
Well, the problem for Jos Buttler behind the stumps is he could take his mind back 24 hours to those two chances that dropped behind, the mis-stumping. It was Shan Masood. When you drop a batsman that's still out there, it just ekes away at you. You just know you've affected the game.
Yes.
And if Shan Masood can get 3 figures, it's going to go a long way towards Pakistan having a real chance of winning this Test match.
Here's Broad, bowls to Masood, who's repeated it. This one was not quite out of the middle of the bat, and that went in the air past Burns. But it's another boundary down to third man as Broad gave him that little bit of width. Didn't quite glide off the bat as the last one. It was a repeat of the shot, but that hit more of an edge than the middle.
It's a little bit of a similar feel to yesterday. England in the opening session were outstanding with the ball, as they were this morning. In the afternoon yesterday, they travelled, didn't they?
Yeah.
And the same's happening today.
Well, Shan Masood's now on 96.
He's found a bit of fluency, 58 from his first 198, and now another 38 from his next 50 balls.
2 balls remain in the over. Broad's on his way. He's there and he bowls, and Masood's tucked him into the onside. He'll try and get 2 here if he can, with Pope in pursuit. They will come back for the second. And Shan Masood's on 98, not out.
Well, the skipper, Joe Roots, just had a little wander from first slip to speak to Dominic Bess, who's behind square on the offside. And it will be about him coming on to bowl, I'm pretty sure.
Yep, quite an extended word, and Root is actually talking to Bess as he retreats.
Change of angle around the wicket.
Yeah. 98 not out. Shan Masood waiting for Broad, who's galloping in from the far end. He bowls to him and he drives, but that's gone straight to mid-on and fielded by Chris Wokes. So he'd have to wait for his 400, but you feel he's going to get it sooner or later. 241 for 5. And the new ball so far has not provided a breakthrough for England. More from Michael Vaughan, and then Simon Mann's coming in here.
Yeah, very good for Pakistan the last half an hour in particular. Ben Stokes is having a chat with Jimmy Anderson. Saw Stokes have another quite long bowl this morning, but I don't think he's going to be turning to Stokes just yet. Pakistan batsman just having a drink. Jimmy Anderson will carry on. It's just getting to the stage. I mean, 241. It doesn't sound a huge score, but you know, when you start getting towards 300 and beyond, we've seen spin. We know how skillful the Pakistan seamers can be. Mohamed Abbas, he bowls well on most surfaces and gets a little bit of wobble on most surfaces. And then you've got Naseem Shah and Shaheen Shah Afridi, who can bowl quickly. And the 2 leg spinners, and you can see the footholes already outside there. Be a left-hander that would look down and see plenty of rough, so the likes of Rory Burns will be ready, kind of training and having a look at those follow through and going, oh, before I've even got any, I've got a bit of rough to look into. So Pakistan are putting themselves in a very strong position.
It's amazing how quickly the game can change. Pakistan scored more runs this afternoon than they scored in the whole morning session. They had just over 40 minutes. Anderson goes in. Bowls to Shadab, who's back and drops it into the onside. They're off for a quick single, and the throw from Pope hits Shan Masood as he runs through. They've run so well. You feel a run out is just around the corner, but they have judged most things very well in this innings, and it's infuriating for the bowling and fielding side as well. The bowlers and the fielders.
I think it's proven that if you've got 2 players that are absolutely committed to this tactic, it's very hard to stop them.
Yeah.
Unless you hit it so hard that it goes to the fielder. But if you just drop and run, I mean, how close can extra cover and mid-wicket get? They can't really get any closer.
No, it's very good. Have you ever played indoor cricket?
I have, yeah.
Where you just basically, it is tip and run. And it's amazing what you can get, isn't it?
Yeah, down at Wicker Bank in Sheffield all those years ago. I can't remember what it was called, the indoor school. It was the first indoor school around Sheffield.
Shadab on 98. Anderson goes in to bowl to him. And he turns that away. Backward a square. He's off for 1. He's going to get the second here. He's coming back for the second. You can hear the roar from the Pakistan dressing room beneath us. Takes his helmet off and leaps in the air, and that's 3 consecutive hundreds. for Shan Masood, his 4th overall. He had to work so hard for the first 50. He has flourished of late, and he's put Pakistan in a good position in this game. He's really frustrated England. He's batted for nearly 86 overs.
251 balls, 13 fours, as you said. It's his 4th career 100, 3rd in successive innings. He made 135 against Sri Lanka in Karachi in December, 100 exactly against Bangladesh in Rawalpindi in February. It's the 43rd time a batsman has scored 3 or more hundreds, 3 hundreds in successive innings in 3 or more innings, and he's the 6th Pakistan player to do it after Misbah-ul Haq, Yunus Khan, Mohammad Yusuf, Mudassar Nazar and Zahir Abbas. So 100 in his first 36 test innings, and then 3 and 3.
And he bent down and kissed the turf as well. Here he is, Anderson bowling to Shan Masood, who's forward. Normal service resume. A nice solid defensive block there.
Yeah, well, a wonderful 100. He's had a couple of elements of fortune, but you have to have that. In English conditions, you could argue that it's probably the hardest place to come and bat. When you're facing Broad and Anderson with the Duke ball, the lights have been on. I know they're off now, but for the most part of his innings, there has been movement. And I don't think it gets any harder than this as an opening batsman to come and face this combination.
Here goes Anderson, bowls to Shan Masood. He beats him. That's a fine delivery going across him. He poked at that one past the outside edge. I mean, it is an overcast afternoon. The lights aren't on yet. Back to those good bowling conditions. England got the new ball in hand.
Yeah, particularly when Jimmy Henderson's had him out 6 times previously. For not many runs. He's come here with a different technique, a different mindset. And he's playing the anchor role. Absolutely perfect for Pakistan.
He's the first overseas opener to score 100 in a test match in England since. Here's a little question for you. Here's Anderson bowling outside the off stump. There's no stroke
Rahul.
from Shan Masood. Yeah. Hey, do you know that, do you?
Yeah, because I'm on the same WhatsApp group as you.
Oh, are you?
I'm sitting right here, guys.
Well, sometimes, Andy, we just think you take a stab at things rather than...
I prefer your approach, Alan, to be fair. I just like stats that are made up.
He's the first to score 100 in England in the opening innings of a test against England since Chris Rogers at Lords in 2015.
Yeah. Here is Anderson bowling to Shan Masood outside the off stump. Lets that one go by. It's quite wide from Anderson. 244 for 5. Masood 100 not out. He's been out there for 255 balls. He's getting excellent support from Shadab, who's gone for chaos theory, and it's worked. Disrupted England.
Yeah, when Pakistan lost Rizwan, I saw the first few deliveries that Shadab Khan faced, and I thought it can't be long. That technique, the right shoulder was coming in too soon. He was kind of planting his foot down, middle stump, and just using his hand. I thought he's got to snick one. Well, he's hung in there. He's now 34 from 50, and absolutely right, Simon. He's caused chaos. He's been what you describe as a pest from an England perspective, but he's survived, and I'm sure he'll carry on in that fashion.
Here goes Broad to bowl to him. That's outside the off stump. He leans forward and lets the ball go through to Butler. In a way, he's the number 7. He's batted like wicket keepers often do.
Yeah, it's just number 7. That's how they bat.
Well, I suppose you've got that licence at number 7. But one feature of his batting has been the running, pinching those quick singles. Really annoying for a fielding side and for the bowlers as well. They have to constantly change their lines. Left hand, right hand, batsman on strike. Broad goes in, arms pumping, bowls a very short delivery that swings after it went past the bat. And Butler had to leap away to his right to take it in front of Root at first slip. Shadab allowed it to go. He shaped to try to swat it away. There are 2 men back, Archer's on the fine leg boundary. And there's a deep backwards square leg in as well. If you're in that ring on the offside, or Anderson mid-on, you need to be alive here because they're looking to pinch those singles. Here's Sibley walking purposefully from cover. That's short, and that's swung away down towards Archer. He's going to get underneath it. No, just short. One bounce to Archer coming in off that fine leg boundary.
Andy, I've got something quite revealing. Andy, do you want the good or the bad news?
Well, either. News is news.
Well, the good news is that Alistair Cook's listening. the bad news, he says that the last stat from Andy was wrong about Chris Rogers scoring 100 at Lords in the first test of a series. He says, I think the first test was played in Cardiff.
I didn't say first test. I said first innings, opening innings of a
You're not
match.
listening, Alistair. You're not listening.
Do not question me, Sir Alistair.
Correct. Night.
2:45 for 5. Shan Masood on strike. Broad ran the wicket. Low pull from Shan Masood. Down to Archer, who's gone 70 metres or so to his right-hand side. That fine leg to field that one as well.
Come on, keep going, Andy.
Pakistan openers with centuries in England. Shan Masood is only the 5th. Slightly ominously for England, 3 of the previous 4 have reached 176 or more. The other Pakistan openers with centuries in England. Saeed Anwar, the most recent, 176 at the Oval in 1996. Ahmed Sohail, 205 on this ground in 1992. Mudassar Nazar, 124 at Birmingham in 87. And Mohsin Khan, brilliant 200 at Lords in 1982.
Very good, Andy. He's typing.
You can see him typing, can you?
Yeah,
Sir
you can
Alistair.
see it. Yeah. I don't have him as Sir Alistair. I must change that. I must edit it. He's just Alistair.
2:46 for 5. Shan Masood on 101. Shadab back on strike on 35. Broad goes into bowl to him. And Broad, they pinch another single. The ball goes 1 metre from the leg stump. He pushed forward, thick inside edge, possibly a bit of pad involved, and they ran through for the run. So all change again for Jofra. He's going to be tired before he gets to bowl. Going from one side of the field to the other as they keep turning the board over. 2:47 for 5. And Shan Masood on 101. Broad bowling with this field that England have stuck to for large parts of the day. 2 slips of gully, 3 saving, 1 on the off. 2 on the on and a fine leg. Best gives himself a couple of metres at backward point. Here's Broad going into bowl. That's tipped away nicely by Shan Masood. Again, Archer's in action, running away to his right-hand side. They're coming back for the second. Nice throw from Archer, right by the bails, but Shan Masood is quick, and he had 2 under control.
See, the problem, Andy, is when you're dealing with a knight. Knights are generally right. He said he's going to re-listen.
All right, okay. Well, if I did say that, I didn't mean to say it. What I meant to say was open. I'm sure I said opening innings of a match, didn't I?
I think you
Adam's
did.
giving it the nod.
Yeah, I think you did.
It's the first century England have conceded in their last 8 tests. The last time they had a 7-test sequence without a century by an opposition batsman was in the late 1950s. Unless Sir Alistair Cook has evidence to the contrary.
He's just been picking up his dog. He didn't quite get your response, Andy. He missed it. Where would you rank the combination of Anderson and Broad in the modern game of difficulty? So Shan Masood's got the 100 against
I
Broad
see.
Anderson in these conditions. Duke
Right,
ball,
degree
light
of
stuff.
difficulty,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
right up there.
Yeah. Anderson goes into bowl to Shadab. Shadab guides it away just to the right of fourth slip, that 4-slip stroke gully fielder, and they get another single. It's a bit like one-day cricket. It's a bit like tip and run.
You could say probably Stark and Cummins and Hazelwood, and that's a trio, but either of those two together in Brisbane, somewhere like that. Pink ball in Adelaide. Shami and Bumrah in India on some of the pitches that they play. That's not easy with a bit of Jadeja thrown in. Well, this is a high-class century. It's this combination.
Yeah, he's played really well, especially in the last hour or so. He's going to play a bit more fluently. Anderson bowls to him. He's forward. Oh, it could be a run out here. Shot at the stumps. The dive comes in again. England miss. Well, that was a really tight single. Shadow running to the danger end.
I reckon he's made it.
Or even if the throw had hit.
He's dived. He probably dived 3 metres before, and he slid across the turf. Let's have a look. Oh, his bat might have gone in the air, but I
Yeah.
think it wasn't a great throw.
It was Dom Bess. He wasn't far away. He gave himself just a fraction of a second to set himself there, and then threw the ball at the stumps. Okay, it was an oblique angle, so it wasn't easy to hit the stumps from side on.
I think he's winded himself, Shadab Khan. He's put such a good dive, and you can see his shirt has got all the dust from the pitch right down the front. You can see Joe Root as well. He this morning had the smile on his face. He was in control, and now Pakistan have just grabbed again this session. He's looking slightly concerned, the England captain.
They've scored 64 runs in 55 minutes. 251 for 5. Shadab's back on his feet. A great smear of the Old Trafford ground on his stomach. Here's a short ball. Anderson swung away by Shadab. Down towards fine leg in front of the hotel. Wokes is onto it. Sends in the return. Gets the ball away quickly. Good piece of fielding from Wokes because they were looking for 2 there.
Yeah, that's, you know, they've nicked singles, but also every time it's gone out to the deep, they have really run hard to try and grab the second.
252 for 5. I mean, that previous delivery, the one before the pull shot, really, I mean, that was an outrageous single, wasn't it? Because Bess is quite close in on the onside at forward square leg, and it was played straight to him.
But yeah, I reckon he made it. The dive saved him.
There's going to be a run out. There has to be. Anderson bowls, and Shah Massoud lets that one go. Goes too low, but almost takes that on the second bounce. 252 for 5. Anderson is in 19th over. Well, we went for 4 and over yesterday, so he has dragged it back today. 1 for 59. Vital blow of Barbara Azam in the first over of the day. Shafiq out for 7. Rizwan for 9. 176 for 5. It's now 252 for 5. Anderson glides into bowl to Shah Massoud, who tabs it into the offside. There's Sibley practically under the nose of the batsman by the time that was played, trying to cut off that single. Shah Massoud again looking for it and realised that Sibley had crept in on that offside. The lights are back on at Old Trafford. They've been on for the last 5 minutes or so. It's another grey afternoon now. We had some sun today and some blue sky, but not at the moment.
Another. Had a couple.
Here's Anderson. Bowls to Shah Massoud. He's onto the back foot there, punching that through the offside in front of square. It's going out towards the boundary. Pope is after it, or dives too soon. He dives too soon. He might not have got there in any case. And that's gone away for 4. It's a tantalising one.
Oh, he's
In the end,
chuntering. Jimmy's not happy, Simon. You can see him chuntering.
he's gone 1 for 63 from his 19. Now it's 256 for 5, and the run's beginning, or continuing to flow, I should say. Mike Adelman emails, let me listen to your comments on Manchester's weather. I'll have you know that in terms of annual average rainfall, Glasgow is in fact the UK's rainiest city, followed closely by Lancaster. Leeds is 5th, Cardiff is 8th, and Manchester is 14th. In terms of days of rainfall per year, Manchester is a positively arid 10th in the UK. So there. Okay, thanks, Mike.
Well done, Mike.
Thank you.
Well done. Put Simon in his box. Exactly what you have to do. That last shot, the 4, it reminded me of Chris Broad. Tall left-hander, Stuart's dad. He used to kind of get a nice base and just kind of play from that base and punch it square of the wicket. Lovely shot. Chris Wokes into the attack. Thought they might have gone to Don Bess. Let's try and change the play up slightly.
Well, Wokes has been so reliable on this ground this summer. Well, he's reliable in English conditions in general. He's bowled 15 overs, 5 maidens, 2 for 28. And there's a long conversation going on there between Root and the bowler. And also, is that Ben Stokes involved? No, Stokes is down at second slip. Who's there at the phone? Jimmy Anderson's up there. So call for Wokes.
What you got for us, Andy?
Well, 42 from 8 overs with the new ball, just contrasting the spells of Broad and Anderson. This morning, Anderson 1 for 12 from 7, with the second new ball, none for 19 in 4. Broad 1 for 4 from 5 overs this morning, none for 23 in 4 this afternoon. And I have some more details on the challenge of playing England in England. And these have been published on the BBC website, so they're scientifically fact, from an article I wrote in between the test matches. I'll come to it after Wokes' first ball.
Same field. 2 slips of gully and 3-7-1 on the offside. There's a man back there. Wokes bowls. Very full. Dug out into the onside. They're looking for 2 here. That Best rushing in from deep square leg to pick up.
I like it when you use the word, 2 words, scientifically fact. This is going to be good.
Facts these days are different to what they used to be. But looking at England's seamers in the last 5 home summers, and these stats were up to the end of the West Indies series, England's seamers since 2016 have averaged 23.6 in England, which is the lowest average by England seamers over a 5-summer period since 1951 to 63, when Truman and Statham were in their pomp.
Wow. So what was that when Truman and Statham were in the pomp? What the numbers were back then? What did they produce?
I think that was round about 20. The late 1950s were one of the toughest eras for batting in the history of Test cricket. I'll just get my
Uncovered
little,
pitches.
Spreadsheet up.
Another long conversation between Root and his bowler and Jimmy Anderson. Anderson fielding at mid-off for Shan Masood.
Yeah, what he's done just a little manoeuvre. Cover point is in on the catch, Dom Sibley. Dominic Bess is like a short third man area for that back cut.
A few have
He's bringing-
flown in the air through there
Yeah,
where Bess is. He's coming in now
Yeah.
a few metres. It's almost like a deep gully. Here is Wokes bowling, pushed away into the offside. It's picked up by Sibley at short cover and there's no run.
Yeah, and ironically, he walked into where a normal gully would stand. So he could probably get away with just standing at gully. Joe Root's having another chat to him. He's trying to maybe work out the angle of where he wants him, or is he talking to him about his bowling? I think it's more about the angle of where he wants
Yeah.
him for this.
Is Root saying to him, what's he saying? It was almost as if there was a dispute there about how Bess was positioning himself. Wokes bowls, Masood covers up and plays it
He's going back
up the pitch.
Going back
Yeah.
to chat to him. I think Dominic's on the naughty step.
I don't know. I just sensed a bit of body language between the two. Root's saying, well, what are you doing? How are you positioning yourself? I think Bess is saying, well, look, perhaps if I walk in like this, I might be able to affect the run out.
No, I've read it. They're talking about him bowling. I reckon he's coming on to bowl here. I think he's going to bowl from the Statham end. Just saw them like waving around as they were setting a field.
Wokes bowls, dabbed away by Masood. Good stop by Sibley. Tumbling away to his right on the pitch end that we used for the second match against West Indies, the third test of that series. He's got no protection on his elbows as well. You have to be careful on those old wicket ends. You take the skin off.
Yeah, Old Trafford was always one of the hard squares. Rock hard, you get awful burns on your legs for any dive. Not that I dive that often, to be honest.
257 for 5. Wokes into bowl to Shan Masood, tucked away into the onside, not stopped at backward square leg by Pope. Archer has to run round and into field. Returns it to Butler, and Shan Masood is through for 2 more. 110 not out to him. And Pakistan up to 259 for 5. They're closing in on the century partnership, these two. They came together at 176.
I'm surprised they haven't gone to the short stuff. The orthodox stuff's just not worked for the last 40 minutes. So they might have gone to that short ball theory that we saw against the West Indies. We saw it briefly this morning.
Wokes to complete the over. Bowls to Shan Masood, who defends again, looking for a single, but Sibley's close in on the offside now. He picks it up, and there's no run. And that's the end of the over. More from Michael, and then it will be Daniel Norcross at 259 for 5.
Ben Stokes has just taken his cap off. I don't think it's to have a ball. No, he's just giving his hair a bit of air. Is it going to be Dominic Bess? I think it is. The helmet's coming out for Josh Butler. It will be the off spinner to bowl from the Statham. He bowled beautifully from Jimmy Anderson then. He got lots of purchase. And there's plenty for him there. You can see down just outside the left-hander's off stump. There's lots of rough. Good afternoon, Dan.
Hello, Michael.
You're good.
I am good. I've just watched an extraordinary hour of cricket in which Pakistan, having scored 48 runs in 2 hours in 26 overs in the first session, have scored 72 runs in 14 overs and have gone like a train and played really well, haven't they? I mean, it's the singles. They've run England ragged.
Yeah, it's been a little bit risky, you would say, but when you've got two players out there that are completely committed to this running between the wicket method, it's worked for them, and you can see that it's certainly giving Joe Root a headache to. I do think when you're facing Broad and Anderson, it's an approach that I would tell the team to go for, because it's worth trying to wind them up. And it certainly has made them a little bit grumpy. Ball hasn't done as much as we saw this morning, and then they've probably chased it and bowled the odd one that's been a bit short, and they've capitalised. So it's been terrific stuff by Pakistan. Now this is when you want your spinner. Your spinner, you seem as you're travelling a little bit. This is now that you need your spinner to produce some magic.
But you know, I mean, Best came on first thing after lunch, didn't he, as Michael departs, along with Joe Root. And that sort of set the tone for this session. And he did, it wasn't just Joe Root. It was Dom Best bowled a couple of really unusually short and woeful deliveries. He's in now from the Statham end. He switched ends, and that's a better ball, drifting and floating onto off stump, dug out by Shadab Khan to short mid wicket, where Rory Burns does the fielding. One slip in, a ring field on the off and leg side, a deep, well, a long leg really, and a deep square leg. Can Best bowl better from this end? He's in, and down the wicket comes Shadab, but then just doesn't quite get to pitch the ball, so pushes it into the covers, where Sibley moves to his left to field. It's an interesting move this from Root. I think he sees Shadab Khan perhaps wanting to get on with it, and he's almost tempting him to do so. Archer is about 30 yards in from the boundary at mid-on, long, halfway between mid and long on. Root's at mid-off. He's trying to tempt him to have a go at it here, see if he can clear Archer. Instead, that ball jags back into him, spins, and he plays off the back foot, does Shadab, into the offside. Sibley tidies up, but not before they've picked up a single. And Shadab moves to 40. He had one run at lunch of 14 balls. Then he got going once the spinners came on straight after lunch. And Pakistan have not looked back. They got great momentum from this. It's so similar to the hour after lunch yesterday. The game was following this unusual pattern. We saw it a bit in the West Indies series, where West Indies would have a good first hour of the day and then England would come back in the second hour of the day. Well, here it's been slightly the other way around. England had a really good first session on both the first and today. And then Pakistan have really come out after lunch with intent, as Bess is in, and that's defended solidly by Shan Masood on the front foot, back to the bowler, Dom Bess. There's no run. We welcome back Mark Ramprakash.
A very good afternoon.
And to you. What have you made of this? I'd probably have to give you the time between the overs, because Bess is getting through them at quite a rate. But it's been quite a session so far. Here is Bess around the wicket to left hand and drives it to mid-on. They want a single. This could be tight. The throw hits. It doesn't hit, inevitably. And in fact, I think Shan Masood might have been home. He hit it to mid-on and ran. And that's been a feature of Pakistan's play since lunch. They've been really positive. I liked my favourite single of the day was the one that just plopped off the pad about a yard away, and there was no hesitation. They just legged it. Butler couldn't get to the ball in time because it was off a seamer. And then they stole a single. Bess in again, worked to short mid-wicket, this full ball. Burns is able to intercept it before it makes it to Archer at long on. There's no run. End of the 90th over. 261 for 5 Pakistan. Shan Masood 111. Shadab Khan has 40, and it's been all Pakistan since lunch, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I'm so impressed with the way Pakistan have played and their game awareness. I think everyone knows that Old Trafford, the new ball with its proud scene, might do a bit, and it certainly did. It seemed around a little bit. But as the balls got older, the batsmen have managed to dominate a little bit more. We saw Babar Azam play extremely well yesterday, and Masood in particular, having batted at one end the whole innings, he's grown in confidence, playing a couple of late cuts off Stuart Broad for 4, and he doesn't miss out on his pads when it's straight. He's played the short ball well from Jofra Archer, so there's a lot to like about his batting. And of course the left-hand, right-hand partnership has worked extremely well in rotating the strike. And they've put England under huge pressure, and Joe Root is under the cosh here as captain to try and drag it back.
They need a wicket very quickly, as Wokes is in, worked nicely by Shadab, defensively but firmly back to the bowler. It was not full, nor was it short, but at the moment everything's coming off the middle of Shan Masood's bat. It was a real struggle for him yesterday, and actually the first hour this morning, but this is the value of sticking it out. And once you do get in, as Shan Masood has, he's really started to look, on occasion, really quite fluent. He played some lovely shots through third man, really deliberate shots. And he's facing up again to Wokes, over the wicket to him. And that's on the pads, on the hip really, and turn round the corner for a single. Archer runs in off the long leg boundary to field. One more to the total, 262 for 5. It's hard to see where a wicket's coming from. The new ball hasn't really beaten the bat very often, has it?
Yeah, it's a big test for England, and having had such a good first session where they took wickets and controlled the run rate, they would have been hoping that the second new ball would have done the trick and they could have finished off things quite quickly. It's been anything but. And Joe Root and his fielders in particular are really under pressure. Young players like Pope, Sibley and Dominic Bess in the inner ring trying to stop the singles. They've really struggled, and so far Pakistan have made headway.
Wokes into the right-hander, and that's again on the hip and easily turned away out to deep square leg. There's acres of space, no one's saving one on the onside, and it's really a free shot for Shadab. Picks up another run. He moves to 41, Andy.
Just more on Shan Masood, 54 from his last 72 balls now, after 58 from his first 198. Just to tidy up a stat that we left, we were talking about England's best 5-summer sequence for their collective seamers, and they've averaged, before this game, 23.6 over the last 5 summers. The peak was from 56 to 1960, when England's seamers averaged 20.7 collectively.
Steedham, Truman, Loader, that mob. Wokes in, the left-handed Masood, who just lets this go by outside the off-stump. No real movement, nothing really happening out there for England. On that subject, Mark, of the inner ring, have they been a little deep, have they? Or has it just been brilliant play from Pakistan?
It's been terrific running, and really, if both batsmen are alive, you really can play tip and run, and it's very, very difficult to stop. And you don't necessarily want to get in too tight, and sometimes they have, and the ball gets pushed past you.
Well, Sibley's in tighter than ever now at points outside the off-stump. There's no run. See where he's got to now. He's only 4 pitch widths away. He's barely walking in. He sort of ambles 2 or 3 steps, and then he's there.
Well, Joe Root was very specific in placing him there to stop that quick single. I mean, he's almost on the drive, a square drive man for an aerial drive shot, but that's almost how close they have to come to stop this sort of defending, dropping the ball close to the batsman and then the non-striker running, and if they're both switched on, they're easily making it.
Wokes in, Masood works this into the onside, to the left of mid-on, and Broad has to move to his left, and as a result, the batsmen get through for another run. 264 for 5, 91 overs gone now. Shan Masood 113, Shadab Khan 41, and the drinks break is now. You may wonder why now at 10 to 3. Well, it's because today we go on till 6:30. Inevitably that will be 7, because they don't get through the overs in time. So I presume tea therefore is delayed to 5 to 4. Yes, and you can watch highlights on of this match on the BBC website and app, and of course tonight on BBC 2 at 7 o'clock. There's full highlights, and you can see it later on the iPlayer. If 7 o'clock isn't your bag, you'll see Mark Raprakash on that, among many others, Azhar Mahmood, Ali Mitchell and so forth, Andy Zaltzman.
Looking at Pakistan's singles this morning, 12 singles in 26 overs. Since lunch, 28 singles in 16 overs.
That feels like quite a lot of singles, actually. And that doesn't include the little leg buys they've nicked as well, I should imagine, doesn't it? Because there have been a few of them in this first hour and a bit. It's been really busy. We were talking, Andy's invented a busyness index, which he's very, very excited by, and I think it's quite a good indicator. It essentially, what it does is, a couple of things it does is look at a batsman's strike rate if you remove their 4s and 6s. So
very clever. Yes.
I like it, don't you?
Yes, very, very clever. And some are more adept than others.
Well, yes. I mean, let's say, for example, at one end of the scale you might have, say, a Dom Sibley, and then at the other end of the scale you might have, say, Joe Root, Virat Kohli, something of that sort. And it gives you an idea of their ability to get on and off strike to put pressure on the bowlers. And we like this Zaltzman busyness index.
I must just say, though, I was lucky in my career to bat quite a lot with Graham Thorpe, and he was brilliant at rotating the strike, but we also had the left hand, right hand, so the bowlers constantly were having to adjust their line and length. And, this is where England have been really frustrated. We've seen top bowlers, England's 4-seamers are absolutely world class, but even they have struggled, sometimes bowling over the wicket, round the wicket, to adjust their line and length and bowl a number of deliveries to one particular player. And it's so much easier if you have 2 left-handers or 2 right-handers to bowl those dot balls and build up pressure, which we know England like to do.
They sort of have themselves to blame a bit there, because they've had a couple of chances from Shan Masood. Masood's played very well, but he has, on occasion, given England more than a sniff. He was, you have to say, very fortunate to survive an LBW shout earlier today when he got the tiniest, thinnest of edges off a ball that came in off Broad. There was one that was just out of reach of Dom Sibley yesterday. There was, of course, the Butler drop off Best, and there was the missed stumping. So it's been quite a charmed life. Just to bring you up to date with what's happened today, Pakistan began the day on 139 for 2, lost a wicket off the last ball of the first over of the day when Anderson had Babar Azam caught at slip by Joe Root for his overnight score. Soon after, Asad Shafiq was caught by Stokes off the bowling of Wokes, and third wicket fell before lunch. But since then, it has been all Pakistan. They went into lunch at 187 for 5, having crawled, really struggled against some terrific England bowling. At one stage, the first 11 overs of the day, Pakistan had lost 2 wickets, scored just 11 runs. Then, since lunch, it's been a completely different game. And if you came here as a cricket fan and looked up at the sky, Mark, and you looked at England's bowlers and you said they've got a new ball now, and you didn't know what the score was, you'd think these are going to be really tough conditions to bat in. But
I think they are difficult conditions to bat in, but this is where we have to give Pakistan so much credit. It's a dry pitch and it hasn't swung a huge amount in the air. The new ball tends to seam a little bit, but it's Shan Masood has batted at one end the whole innings. He's watched 5 people get out at the other end, and he's done a terrific job. Yes, he had 1 or 2 chances off Dom Bess, who is in operation now, but by and large, I think he's done a terrific job, and even more so given the history that he's had against Jimmy Anderson in particular in England.
It must be a great feeling for him right now, actually, just looking up at that scoreboard. 113 not out. They start up after drinks. It's going to be Dom Bess. Round the wicket too, the left-hander who dabs a not that short a ball, actually. He goes back into his crease and dabs it to backward point where Broad does the fielding. There is that backward point. There's quite a short cover who's there for the little push and run. There's extra cover, mid-off and mid-on, saving one for the firm push, and mid-wicket, a square leg and a sweeper on the offside. Down the wicket comes Shan Masood. That's not really his game. He meets the ball on the full, but then it's a thick inside edge, bounces off pad and rolls out to the offside where Ollie Pope does the fielding. And there's no run. He got there, he just didn't connect with it. He's not left his crease too often. When he has against Bess, it's not been too fruitful. Stays at his crease this time and comes forward in defence, pushes back up the wicket.
Now on the leg side, for example, he's got mid-on, mid-wicket, and square leg is up. So he's quite a tall man, Shan Masood, but if he sweeps, the shot is certainly on, and he would get a lot of reward.
And even the slog sweep, you can imagine Trescothic's slog sweeping to this field, can't you? Round the wicket comes Bess, and that's on the pads, worked it to the onside, and they'll get a run because Masood has put that to the left of mid-wicket and the right of square leg. So again, England just leaking these singles, as Mark's saying. The turning over of strike, this will just be frustrating. Root and the England bowlers and fielders. Side adjustment as Broad is set about 10 yards inside the boundary at a deep backward square leg, almost a long leg, to Shadab. And Shadab drives beautifully square of the wicket. It's being pursued by Anderson. It might make it the boundary. I don't think it is. It's just going to hold up. And Anderson does the sliding stop down there at deep backward point, and they get through for 3 more. Shadab is really irritating them now. You can sort of feel it. There's nothing they can do, it seems. He's busy. 268 for 5.
Well, to illustrate how busy he's been on the Saltzman Busyness Index, 44 from 63 balls, only 3 fours in that. So
what is his busy strike rate then?
Well, for his career, it's very good, 33.
Right.
I'll explain that.
You will. Bess in to complete the over, defended by Shan Masood. Back up the wicket, there is no run. 92 overs have been bowled, 268 for 5. Masood 114, Shadab Khan 44. Over in Derby, by the way, England's women are playing a 12-a-side intra-squad game with 2 teams named after legendary England players who both passed away in 2017, Jan Britton and Rachel Hayhoe Flint. Team Britain, led by Natalie Siver, have just been bowled out for 250 with 5 balls to spare of their 50 overs, helped by 88 from iPredictor Danny Wyatt and 48 by Alice Davidson-Richards. For Team Hey-Ho Flint, led by England skipper Heather Knight, the pick of the bowlers was leg spinner Sarah Glenn, 3 for 41, while veteran pace bowler Catherine Brunt, the evergreen Catherine Brunt, was miserly with 2 for 16 from 7 overs. And another rather nice bit from that is that Anya Shrubsole has been umpiring from both ends in that match, which is a bit weird. Isha Guhar's come charging in. Should I get off? I don't know. It's about to start a new over. We could do. Shall we? I think we can do it. Isha Guhar's in. I'm off. Mark, cover. May need an emergency staff. Goodbye.
I'll take strike for a little bit. And Joe Root sticking with Chris Wokes. And Joe Root having to think long and hard about his tactics here. This is really where you earn your money as a captain. It's not when things are going well and Anderson and Broad are knocking everyone over. It's now, at this time. You need to galvanise your fielders who look a little bit, well, they've been out there a few overs now, so they're looking a little bit weary and frustrated.
Here comes Wokes, bowls short to Shadab Khan, who just dips out the way of one. Leg side dominant field. He's got a deep square. A man at short fine, short leg, mid wicket, and a wideish. It's almost in front of square, inside the inner circle. On the offside, a slip gully, and Stuart Broad positioned at a short cover as Wokes comes in on the angle once more. Bowls short again to Shadab Khan, who takes his eyes off it as he dips down. That was slightly more threatening. And a smile on his face as he now comes down the track to chat to his partner, Shan Masood.
And you'd get the feeling from this field, Isha, that Wokes and England are looking to go short to this leg side field and really hoping that the batsman will make a mistake. And you're taking out the bowled and LBW and caught slip pretty much. You're taking out those deliveries because you're bowling a lot of percentage of balls short. So the onus is really on the batsman. Well, do you want to play a short or just duck under it?
Shadab steps away, looks to play it over point, falls over in the process onto his backside, and misses it completely as it goes through to Butler. And now another chat to Masood halfway down the track.
Well, this is entertaining stuff. Shadab trying to back away and get that one over third man, and hence Joe Root moves Rory Burns back to a fly third man, really, for that sort of uppercut shot.
You know, he did actually get something on it, but hits it into the ground in front of Butler on the bounce. And so going to be a double bluff here. Here comes Wokes again, running towards us, both short again, and it's in easier leave. Just another dip inside the line of it for Shadab Khan as he now walks over towards short leg, contemplates what he's going to do next. Still quite grey skies here in Manchester. Lights are on, they have been all day. Slight breeze blowing across the ground as Wokes circles at the top of his mark, shuffles forwards into his stride, bowls short, and another leave by crouching down Shadab Khan.
Yeah, it's strange this. Chris Wokes has been excellent by bowling top of off. He's moved the ball a bit both ways, and although there's less movement at the moment, you'd feel if it was good enough for Azhar Ali as a top batsman, that why it would not be good enough to bowl that to Shadab Khan.
Well, you also wonder why Archer isn't performing this role as the enforcer. Chris Wokes, when you think about his bouncer, it is lethal, but generally when he bowls it, there's a rare delivery as Khan slides out the way of that one. Again, just gets inside the line. It's probably hip height as it goes through to Jos Buttler down the leg side. So, end of the over, all short balls. 268 for 5 then Pakistan. 93 overs have been bowled of this innings. A shortened day yesterday. Shan Masood has been outstanding. 114 for him off 278 deliveries. Third consecutive century. 6-month break in between the last one and this one. And a wonderful moment for him here in the UK. He spends a lot of time here. Grew up going to school in Lincolnshire and then studied economics at Durham. before another, I think it was a management degree at Loughborough, but well-educated Sham Masood, and I think he lives actually in North London.
Oh, well, he's a sensible lad, isn't he?
Yeah, a bit closer to Central than you, Mark, as Dom Bess continues from the Brian Statham end around the wicket to the left-handed Masood, who sweeps past James Anderson, who doesn't even look to chase after the ball because it's gone down to the fine leg boundary. He was just behind square as the ball is tossed back by a member of the coaching staff, I think it is, circling the boundary. He's picked up 4. Score now 272 for 5.
Well, Bess had his head in his hands there, because if he had missed it, it was looking to hit middle, but it was well executed, fine sweep from Shan Masood.
Moves to 180 as he advances past mid-off, past extra cover in between the two of them. It goes for 4. Hands over face for Ben Stokes. A wry smile from Dom Bess, but that was well placed as he goes to 122 now, Masood.
Yeah, he's given this a good crack through extra cover. Rory Burns on the drive, probably a couple of yards wide of him, but he never moved. He's hit this terrifically hard.
It's a 100 partnership from 23.1 overs. It's Pakistan's first 100 partnership for the 6th wicket in England ever.
There you go. Proves to be a thorn in the side of these two as that is slapped away out to deep cover. Good net delivery on around, or just outside the off stump that Shan Masood has laid into. Goes for a single. Stuart Broad sends the ball in. Moves to 123. Does Masood 277 for 5. Partnership-wise, Shan Masood 56 off 71 and 44 off 69 for Khan, who is now on strike. Pushes forwards, works it to mid-wicket, no run. Fielders on their toes in the inner circle. Prepared for a run out. The opportunity hasn't presented itself just yet. They've run extremely well between the wickets as Bess comes through his action now, bowls, and Shadab Khan pushes to the offside of the front foot. No run. Yeah, you can just sense the frustration from Joe Root, and the concern is Bess bowls back of the length to Khan, who's working it to square leg. No run. And that is the end of the over. So Pakistan 277 for 5. As Root passes Bess's cap back to him, and now scurries down to the other end to have a chat to Chris Woakes. Jofra Archer is down on the fine leg boundary. I wonder when he might toss the ball to him.
Well, at the moment he doesn't fancy him. I mean, for Dominic Bess as a young spinner, I mean, he's up against it. This is a tough game for him. He's bowled some terrific deliveries, but he's up against an opposition who are very game aware. Babar Azam played him brilliantly yesterday, and these two guys are also well in control. But he's going to learn from this experience, but he'll also need to work closely with his captain in having a really solid game plan. What is he trying to do? What field's he going to bowl to? Because you want to have, at the moment, England needs some control, and how is he going to provide that?
Here comes Woakes then from the James Anderson end to Masood, who drives through cover past Dom Sibley. James Anderson is sprinting after it out to the boundary. They've come back for 2 and will pick up the 3 easily as throw is sent in now. Masood 226, Pakistan 280 for 5.
It's a good shot from Shan Masood. He hasn't looked particularly fluent through the offside, and that one wasn't a hard volley. He played it slightly on the up, but didn't try and hit it too hard. I think when he does that, sometimes the bottom hand comes in, just closes the face, but he kept the bat on line and timed the ball through the extra cover region and picks up 3 more runs. So again, Dominic Bess is being tested, but Chris Woakes as well, who's much more experienced. And then England are going to continue to Shadab with this short ball ploy, short leg in place.
Woakes approaching the crease. Short, pulled away. Down to fine leg, Jofra Archer with a long barrier. As they come through for 1. Khan goes to 45, 281 for 5 now, Pakistan. Got an email from Patrick Allen. I too played cricket at Stamford School a good few years before Shan Masood. I remember we spent an afternoon of cricket training, timing with a stopwatch how quickly we could run between the wickets, about 3.2 seconds for me, from memory. And during a training match, we were told how many singles we had missed whenever the fielders took longer than this time to get the ball back to the stumps. As Woakes bowls a good length delivery on the hip of Masood, who turns it to square leg. It was amazing how many quick singles are available when you commit to it. It looks like Shan has remembered his training. He certainly has. I wonder how many quick singles he has taken during this innings. But 3.2 seconds.
Well, that was from Patrick, was it?
Yeah.
He didn't say what his time was for his partner, which is quite important, you know.
As Woakes is in, bowls. Masood leaves outside the off stump, a good length delivery. He's been very good in that area as Masood. Tight on his defence and tight on his leaves. Well aware of where his off stump is. Who was the quickest between the wickets in your era?
Well, I think it's amazing how only a look, when Desmond Haynes came to Middlesex, often he would be with Mike Roseby, and it only a look between the two batsmen and they'd both go.
Masood clips off his legs to square leg, who dives to take the ball, no run. Ollie Pope in there.
And that really helped our one-day cricket because you had Mike Gatting, who was an excellent runner, although some may not think so. But it's the communication between the two partners that you can pretty much, if you both go, you can pretty much get through with almost anything. And so that rapport of getting quick singles off good balls means that when the bad ball comes along, you put that away as well, and that's how you can really increase the run rate.
I asked you who the quickest was, not who judged it the best.
Well, the quickest pair.
As Woakes bowls back against Masood, who pushes to the offside, finds its way to short cover. No run at the end of the over. It's 281 for 5 then. Shan Masood on 126 and Shadab Khan 45. A partnership over 100 now. And they batted incredibly well together, causing pain for England here at Old Trafford. Where is this breakthrough coming from? Who's going to put their hand up?
Just got a little bit more on Chris Woakes' over of bouncers to Shadab Khan. It was the 600th complete over Woakes has bowled in home test matches, and comfortably the shortest average bounce position that he's bowled in any of those overs. CricViz data have it bouncing at 11.6 metres away from the stumps. His previous shortest over was 9.8 metres from the stump. So a change in tactics from Woakes, from basically how he's bowled for his entire career.
Strain on the side as Bess will come in now to Khan, who looks to cut away to the offside but misses it completely. Thuds into the gloves of Jos Buttler.
It's a good delivery from Bess, though. It's just outside off stump. And this is where I was saying about having a clear plan, because he's only got 3 fielders on the offside, so he doesn't want to be too wide of off stump.
As he's through again to Khan, who's turning it to square leg, no run.
So he'll want to bring slip into play if the ball runs on with the arm, but at the same time, if it turns, that the stumps are in play.
Who's the quickest between the wickets in the England team currently is Khan. Advances, launches it high up in the air. Joe Root is underneath it, settling under it at mid-on and taken. So Khan, looking to get to his 50 with a maximum, has given his wicket away to the off-spin of Dom Bess. He picks up his first wicket in the match, and Pakistan 281 for 6. Shadab Khan exiting on 45.
Well, I think this is terrific bowling from Dom Bess, actually. I think he saw Shadab coming down the wicket. He's bowled it a little bit slower and a bit shorter, and defeating Shadab in the flight. So the ball is, although he gave it an almighty swing, it's gone straight up in the air. Joe Root taking a comfortable catch at mid-on, and it's nice to see Dominic Bess get some reward for his efforts.
Yeah, players out in the middle, right by the pitch, as the Pakistan players clap Shadab off. And out comes the feisty Yasir Shah. Well, this should be entertaining. Doesn't hold back, does Yasir Shah? Scored a century at Adelaide against Australia after David Warner smashed it to all parts, scored a triple century. And Marnus Labuschagne, I think, as well got a 100 in the same match.
Shadab Khan's final figures, 45 from 76 balls, 3 fours. The partnership 105 from 25.2. As I said, it was the first 100 stand Pakistan have had for the 6th wicket in England.
Mark Ramprakash has left us. In comes Azhar Mahmood, who will be pretty happy with the position that Pakistan are in. And probably looking forward to seeing how Yasir Shah goes in this innings. He's at the non-strikers end at the moment. Shan Masood just remarking his guard to Dom Bess. He's got a deep cover out. Everyone else is up. And he's got a slipping position coming around the wicket. Masood dabs the ball under his eyes. Falls in front of Jos Buttler.
Yeah, I think these two guys played really well. Shan Masood and Shadab Khan. Unfortunately, he was looking for a big glory, big booming 6, I would say.
Do you blame him? As Bess bowls to Masood, and that is a good leave. Nearly skids onto the off stump.
No, I won't blame him because he worked so hard on his one-day game. So he was mainly a blocker, and now because for last year or so he worked so hard on.
As Masood still in his crease, looks to clip it leg side, but hits the pad instead. Clearly going down the leg side. At the end of the over, it's 281 for 6 then. Shan on 126. And Yasir Shah will face his first delivery to Woakes very shortly.
So he worked really hard on his, one-day game. So he wants to call himself a batting all-rounder. And he got all the potential. And he's a fiery character, competitor. And you want, as a captain and as a coach, player like him in your dressing room.
Yeah, quite cheeky and fearless as he now takes his guard on middle and leg and also on middle.
When you're batting at number 7, you have to be fearless and, a counter-attack sometime. They were 176 for 5 at that time. So you need to put pressure on the opposition to get a good total for your side on the board.
2 men back on the leg side, deep backward square and fine leg for Woakes. 2 slips in the gully in position as well for Yasir Shah, who defends a good length delivery. Back down the pitch. No run.
Isha, this is a guy, he's a competitor as well. He won't give his wicket away. And now because Yunus Khan is there, so he get on with Yunus Khan really well. Yunus must told him to stay there for Shan, bat with a Shan for a long period of time.
So we're not going to see any flowing drives.
You might
early.
see. You might see with him. You never know.
Here comes Woakes running towards us. Bowls good length and pats it to the offside this time.
If you get few short delivery, you might see those shots. If they're bowling length, he will be happy to play properly.
Just looking at Yasir Shah's batting in Australia, made 26 and 42 in Brisbane, and this amazing 113 in Adelaide. He'd been out in single figures in his 9 previous Test innings before that, and had an average of fractionally over 11 before that tour of Australia.
Taps his bat down hard, back and across, drives to Stuart Broad, who misfields. It's heading out to the long off boundary as he's sprinting the 2 and turns, but then signals no to Masood as a throw comes in from Root. So picks up his first runs, goes to 283 for 6.
It was full delivery, and Yasir absolutely nailed that one. Hands from Broad, but they end up managing 2 runs.
Taking a look at his hand at the moment, Stuart Broad at mid-off. Just a little bit of a sting, but I think he's okay. As Wokes is in again, bowl short, and Yasser Shah almost ducks into the ball.
Yeah,
That's a class.
if we see some more short stuff, you might see the flurry drive from him.
Yeah.
But he worked hard on his batting as well, you know, with Yunus Khan and now Mushtaq back in the side in the management. So they work hard on his batting. They know Pakistan have a long tail. So if they can manage to get 50 odd runs from these tail-ender, they will be very happy with that.
Sun just breaking through for the first time in a long time today. It's a nice warm feeling as Joe Root has just checked the ball with umpire Kettleborough, and it's gone through the rings to check whether it's out of shape, but he's deemed it okay to continue with as the ball gets tossed around to Chris Wokes at the top of his mark. Here he pushes off past the umpire. Shah leaves outside the off stump. Extravagant leave as he waves his bat over. Not as extravagant as we see from Steve Smith.
I would say that, you know, Steve Smith, maybe he's watching him quite closely.
Now Crouches in position as swarms up that back of his. James Bracey on the field for James Anderson as Wokes bowls wide of the off stump. It's guided down to third man. There's Pointers chasing after it. Another sprint for Yasser Shah as the ball is pulled back off the boundary, and they will pick up 3. Throw coming in from Rory Burns after a good bit of work from Ollie Pope down there. 286 for 6 then. Shah Massoud on 126. Yasser Shah on 5. A few more words from you, Azhar, and then it will be Jonathan Agnew.
Yeah, it was a good shot. It was short and wide, and Yasser played really well. He was full control of this shot, end up managing 3 runs. This is very important for Pakistan. Yasser stayed with Shan, and they can put some good partnership here to get Pakistan total for 350 odd. If they manage to do that, that be a great effort from Pakistan batting unit in these conditions, especially against Duke Ball, Anderson, Broad, Wokes. So.
Yes, it's been a terrific afternoon for Pakistan. It's left England with a few headaches or potential headaches here. But they do know there is a long tail, and now with Anderson off, Stuart Broad is now the latest to go off. He's looking very ruefully at his left hand. So 2 substitutes now, Lawrence and Bracey. Although I thought I caught a glimpse there of Anderson ready to come back on again. Root suddenly with rather short of bowlers out there. There's 2 main men off the field. Bess is continuing.
And we haven't seen Archer since lunch.
Here goes Bess and bowls, and yes, prods forward. The Kraft catch it there as that bounces away into the offside, and Buckler fields. And meanwhile, Shan Massoud goes on and on here at the non-striker's end. And Bess again strides in, bowls the right-handed Yasser, who'll be interested to see how this pitch is playing. At the loud cry of no there, the ball runs away down to backward point.
What a magnificent innings from Shan Massoud. This marathon innings, you know, especially on these conditions. Ball is hooping around and he's still there.
He absolutely is. Bess again strides in, tosses this up, and Yassir's beaten there outside the off stump. He maybe just kept his bat in line there. He was trying to, I think, convince the bowler. He just whipped it out of the way in time. But he'll be interested. The wrist spinner in what the surface looks like and what the ball is doing. Short leg slip. Bess moves in bowls, and that's turned around the corner by Yasser. He's got 100 to his name, but it was one of those hundreds in which he kind of licensed to 80 for 6 or something, and he went in. It was one of those where the situation was pretty dire.
Yeah, he's a fiery type of character, you know. Whenever he got opportunity, he will nail that opportunity, and that maybe.
Yeah. Slip and short leg. Bess bowling to him. What's a better length? Oh, does he drop that? Don't tell me Butler's dropped another one. I think he has. Looking at the body language, I think Jos Buttler has dropped Yasir Shah. Yes, he
Yes,
has. He did. He dropped him on 5.
Yes, he
Oh,
has.
dear.
Oh, big blow.
In and out. Dear. Bess has had no luck at all, really. He's got that one wicket to show, but that's the third chance in all that he's managed to find, and that's turned around the corner by Yasir. Dropped on 5. I'm afraid a note goes in the book. And Jos Buttler's not having a happy game behind the stumps. 286 for 6. Yasir 5. Shah Massoud 126. I think England needed that. Anyway, Anderson's coming back onto the field. What Butler's thinking is pulling his cap on, he's taking his helmet off.
He's having a tough game here because
is.
it's the third chance which is given to the Pakistani batsman. And we discussed in the morning as well, you know, like when he's dropped a couple of one stump chances a catch. You know, you should be taking these catches. It's pretty straightforward for a keeper and on his caliber.
Yep, and of course he dropped Shah Massoud and had him a missed stumping opportunity on 45, and here he is now on 126. And Buttler has to stare at him every ball he faces, because he's just standing a few yards behind him now. England body language not great, if I'm honest. Some rather drooping shoulders and all that shouting and clapping of hands. It's all gone a bit quiet out there. Archer's back on. He's having a change of ends. He's coming up from the Anderson end. He's going to bowl to Shah Massoud from round the wicket. Comes up and bowls to no great pace there. A bit of a stiff-looking delivery. And Massoud got behind that easily enough and played it back to the bowler. So Anderson back on the field. But Broad still off it. I didn't see what he did to his left hand, but
It was attempting to field a ball at mid-off while you were out of the room.
Thank you. Archer scurries in from round the wicket, bowls, and again plenty of time there for Massoud to come forward. It was a terrific partnership at 105 with Shadab, and at the moment that Shadab came in, he just lifted the tempo. Those crazy singles, push and run, push and run, push and run.
I think England allowed them to do that because after lunch we see 5 overs to left to the second new ball, but they give them sniff to Pakistan.
Certainly
and
did.
then they utilize that.
They just gave them all the momentum back again. Archer round the wicket, comes in and bowls, and that's turned by Shah Massoud out to mid-on. A loud cry of no from the batsman. Wokes is the fielder.
We have seen the first session belong to England. They were all over Pakistan, and then second time around, when after lunch, you know, England allowed them to go and do a big partnership. We saw the best partnership of the game so far.
Sun out as Archer sets off again and bowls on the off stump. Again, still not at high pace. That's 83 miles an hour, and Sean plays that on the back foot. Archer fields as he follows through. And some of those players not involved in the game sitting out on the balconies of the hotel down at well, it's down deep mid-on as we look at it here, on a bit of a curve, bright red. Archer bowls a bouncer. That's a quicker ball. And Massoud moved inside the line of that and allowed it to pass by over his shoulder. A transformed ground is, of course, from the Old Trafford of yesteryear, not least, of course, because they're playing the other way round. They used to play from left to right as we look at it.
We always
You
see.
also played that way.
Yeah, I played in that one. Yeah, we saw Archer here. You know, I know every time he comes to bowl, he bowls.
Here he comes again, running in smoothly, bowls on the off stump, and has played easily out into the covers by Massoud, is 126, Yasir Shah's 5, and Pakistan at 286 for 6.
We haven't seen great pace from Archer in this over, and he might have some kind of niggle. Just look at his body language.
Well,
His
I
body
agree.
language is not looking great. I think he's in sort of trouble.
Let's look and see if he's pressing that left side there. Or maybe he's tucking his shirt in, but he doesn't look. He's looking down at the ground, pulling his trousers up. No, he's not happy, I don't think. I think he has got a niggle of some sort. He's coming out to mid-off, so he's not going off the field. I'll have to keep an eye on that. It's Bess over the wicket, bowls on the leg stump, and as he's done a number of times so far, Yazir turns that round the corner and finds backward square leg. 286 for 6. Short leg there, and Stokes is at slip. Archer to his hands on his hips at mid-off. Bess walks in, and Shah is solidly forward, and Pope fields that with the helmet on at short leg. So
You never know with Yasir. Maybe he's come down the wicket and go over the top.
You think?
Yeah.
Roots hanging back there a bit at mid-on. It's Bess again. Bowls, and as a Shah defends, and Pope once again is the fielder forward short leg.
Bit quicker through the air, sorry.
It's difficult when you're a batsman. A lower order batsman likes to play his shots, but you've got a proper batsman at the other end.
Yeah.
On a big 100.
That's why he's waiting for that.
Yeah. Bess again. Floated up. He does clip that away into the leg side, but with no real power. And Bess, very shaggy haired now, fields. But Shah was dropped in that last over on 5 by Jos Buttler. He's got his gloves on his knees now, as it were, waiting as Bess strides in again over the wicket and bowls, and again on a good length, and Shah really comes forward and defends. Blue sky above, not entirely, sort of cloud around, but it's a long day today. We can go on until the overs are bowled, but up to 7 o'clock if necessary. 98 overs day, and I think it'll be that way for just about the rest of the match now to make up time for yesterday. Bess again as a Shah forward, this plays that into the offside, and there's no run. So this news again, which is a great shame. I saw this flash up. We weren't allowed to say it, or it was embargoed for a little while, but Ollie Stone is again injured, a low grade side strain. He was injured in Warwickshire's Bob Willis Trophy match against Northants, and they went to scan, confirms it's a left side strain, so he's going to be out for up to 4 weeks, which doesn't leave a lot left, but what a shame. Watched him bowling quite a lot at the Ageas Bowl on the practice wickets and so on. He was working up a lively pace. Archer continues, bowls, and that thumps into Masood's thigh guard. And Archer trots through to pick it up. And it's 286 for 6. England's morning, with Babar Azam out in the first over of the day to Anderson's bowling, so out for 69, and Shafiq made only 7, so that was 150 for 4. And Pakistan really were going nowhere there for a long time because Shah Masood was scoring slowly. Rizwan out for 9, 176 for 5, and then this partnership of 105 in Shadab and Shah Masood, who's facing Archer, going down the leg side. Shout or two there as that might have possibly flicked something, but it wasn't bat or glove. And that's just added so much momentum to the game, really. It transformed the innings. And England's fielding was ragged. There were overthrows. There was some brilliant running between the wickets, literally tip and run, dragging the field in. Then Shadab holing out really to root at mid-on off Bess for 45. In comes Archer, bowls on the off stump. It's again Masood moves easily into line, 82 miles an hour.
Nothing much happening for bowlers here, but no great deal of pace here. So, you want something from Archer. He's bowling short pitch deliveries, and let's have a short pitch chin music.
But it's almost calling out for a Ben Stokes spell like that, but I don't suppose they dare throw him the ball, but it needs someone to come in and just make something happen. Archer bowls short, but with no great pace, and so that's pulled out towards deep mid-wicket. Chase on there for Pope around that boundary edge. He'll just pick it up inside the edge, and they come back for another couple. So Sean goes to 128 from 299 balls.
It just seemed like they were going with the motions. There's nothing much intensity from England.
No,
Squad.
it looks flat, doesn't it? It does look flat. Sounds flat. Archer moves in easily again and bowls, and that's again short, pulled away by Masood, straight to Pope this time. So just the one run will be taken. 289 for 6. Shah Masood to 129. That was his 300th ball. Now, can
See the
Archer?
shot. Sorry.
That's to say, can Archer get stuck into the number 8 here, make life uncomfortable for him?
See, it wasn't a short ball to hurry Shan Masood. He's batting so well. If you want to bowl a short one, you be bowling up here on the shoulder height to head height.
Well, there's a man back on the leg side there. Let's see if Archer can produce something here. It's the last ball of the over. It comes in bowls to Shah, who runs that away into the gully. Fine diving stop there from Burns, denies him a couple of runs. And that's the end of the over. 289 for 6. And England desperate for wickets here now, because the way the ball is turning, there's no doubt that it's going to be pretty awkward batting last, I would imagine, if Pakistan have a sizable lead. Inevitably on the telly in front of me here, they're running through all of Butler's missed chances. We've seen the drop catch, and Shah Masood was on 45 and the missed stumping, and now again that one with Yasir Shah on 5. So Bess is continuing. Root is dispatching a man out to the leg side boundary. And to the offside as well. Stuart Broad is back on the field. So there's a slip, a man on the drive in the offside. Bess goes round the wicket, bowls, and Shah leans back, chops it away out towards deep point. Broad's coming in, he's got his sun hat on. Throws the ball in rather scruffily to Butler there, who did well to take that on the half volley. One more run, 290 for 6. Shah Masood to 130 not out. I don't know what point opening batsmen start thinking about carrying their bats, but must be there slightly in the back of his mind, because there's not a huge amount of batting to come. It doesn't happen very often in Test cricket. It goes Best then, bowls, and that found the edge there and ran down towards Anderson in the gully. And Masood wanted a run, but Yasir saying no, I'm not as fast as Shadab.
That was a good delivery from him. I think went away with the arm. Wasn't the doosra, but straight a delivery with the arm.
290 for 6. Bess again, wearing 47 on his back. Tosses that up. Shah forward. Plays the ball back to the bowler again. 290 for 6.
He's bowling really quick. He's not giving any air to the ball. If he gives air to the ball, I think Yasir will go over the mid-on area.
Well, Root's teasing him there a bit at that mid-on position. Best bowls. Forward comes Yasir Shah again. Pope fields scurrying round from short leg. Root's got his hands on his hips, which rather I think sums up his mood at the moment. Archer has also got his hands on his hips. He's at mid-off. Bess over the wicket with a lower arm this time. That's short, cut to point. Anderson fields. Archer's like a man who's sort of really sucking in air there at mid-off. Hands on his hips. He doesn't look happy at all. Now Root's going back a little bit at mid-on.
Happy to give him single to bowl at him.
Yep. Bess bowls to him, but no, Yasir's not falling for that one. Simply goes forward and plays that out to short leg, and there is no run. So it's the end of the over at 290 for 6, heading towards tea, just coming up at 5-2. So more thoughts from you, sir, and then Summerman's coming in.
Just looking at Josh Butler's missed chances since Crickviz have been keeping fielding data since around 2016, and this is only the fourth time in that time that a wicketkeeper has missed 3 chances in one Test innings. So difficult match for Butler so far.
Yeah, it was difficult chances. match for him.
Here's Archer, new over, ran the wicket, bowls to Shan Masood, who clips him away off his hip through backward square leg for a single. So Archer won't mind that too much, because it means he gets a chance to bowl the new man, Yasir Shah. England must be sick of the sight of Shan Masood. They've been bowling at him for, well, how many overs now? 103 overs, 102.1 overs.
Yeah,
So-
he played really well. You know, it's a marathon type of innings. He's been brilliant and shows some resilience, some commitment.
Oh, it's been a fantastic innings for his side. He's 131 not out. Yasir Shah's on 5, and here is Archer to bowl to him in the sunshine. Moves in now and bowls. And he's struck on the pads. A shout for LBW. He's given him out. Yasir is assessing where he is on the crease. And he's walking down to have a look to talk to Shan Masood. And Masood seems to be indicating, I think that's a bit leg side-ish. Is he going to review it? 5, 4,
Looks
3,
very close to me.
2, 1. Out of time, surely, unless he has reviewed it. He is walking off. Well, he was out of time anyway,
Yeah.
according to the big screen. So Archer's got his wicket, and it's 291 for 7. Just looking at it again, it did look a bit leg side-ish,
It
didn't
looked
it?
leg side. I thought it was missing. I think Yasir wants to have a.
Oh, let's have a look. It's umpire's
Umpire's
call.
call.
Right. It was quite tight to that leg stump. But it was a reasonable amount of the ball was hitting the leg stump according to the Hawkeye technology, and he'd been given out, so if he'd reviewed it, he would have still been on his way. LBW for 5.
Yeah, unlucky for Yasir, but it's umpire's call. You can't really do much. It will be given out, but only you can have it review on your things. But Pakistan don't need that at the moment. So Mohammad Abbas walks in. This guy can hang it there. He's a competitor. He's a fighter. So hopefully he'll stay there.
Mohammad Abbas, let's have a look at his batting in Test cricket. He averages 7.23, his highest score of 29. He's playing his 19th Test match. Of course, he's one of Pakistan's main bowlers. A real steady, nagging line of length that he bowls. He's had a very good start to his Test career, 75 wickets at 20.
Oh, he's been phenomenal since he came into the scene. For the last 2 years, his record, as you mentioned, is brilliant. He's the one there to bowl England out, but now he has to stay with Shan Masood to get this total to around 230, 240. 330 to 340. If Pakistan get there, they give themselves a really good chance.
Yeah, the ball's turned. And they've got 2 leg spinners, and they've also got 3 decent quicks as well. Andy wanted to say something.
Yeah, on Mohammad Abbas's batting, his average is low at 7.2. He also has a very low strike rate at 19. What that means is he can be, as we're saying, sorry.
Here's Archer bowling to him, and he's caught that slip first ball. Archer's on a hat-trick. Root takes the catch. Nice, comfortable height around about stomach area, and England have suddenly taken 2 in 2, and it's 291 for 8, and the next man's in on a hat-trick.
Yeah.
What were you saying,
I
Andy?
think-
Sorry.
Just about to say it's quite hard to get out.
Right.
Wicket every 37 balls in his career. That's just come down a little bit.
Maybe Archer was too good for him.
Yeah, well, suddenly England have got a shift on here, but it's still a good game because Pakistan have got runs in the bank around about that 300 mark, possibly more. And England will have to bat last, and if they've got to chase some in that final innings with the ball turning. Anyway, Mohammad Abbas on his way for naught, and Shaheen Shah Afridi is in at number 10. Have we better quickly run through him as well, Andy, in terms of his batting statistics, his batting prowess?
Not a lot statistically. 42 runs from his 12 Test innings, average 4.2.
Right, so if there's a man you want to see at the other end on a hat-trick, Shaheen Shah Afridi might be that man.
His average balls per dismissal is 9.4, which is not ideal.
I hope not that the case, because I spoke to him last night and he said, I asked him about his bowling. I said, how's your bowling going? And he talked about his batting.
Oh.
So hopefully he survives the hat-trick here and stay with Shan Masood a bit longer.
What did he say about his batting?
So he said, I'm improve a lot. I'm using the lighter bat, and hopefully that's what he wants to do. He wants to call himself an all-rounder.
Right, well, it's 291 for 8. And Jofra Archer is on a hat-trick. And let's have a look at the field that Root has posted for that. Got a leg slip in. Bess. Root actually positioned Bess himself. He went over to leg slip. I want you to stand here. Root's gone back to first slip. 4 slips a gully, short leg, short extra cover, leg slip. Archer on a hat-trick, goes in and bowls to Shaheen. And he's in behind that, playing defensively. And it rolls out the short leg fielder, who is Pope, and there is no run. And
Archer was running in this ball, you know. It was a hat-trick ball, definitely. It was running in. Well played in the end.
yeah, he was right back. Tall left-hander, very tall. What is his recorded height? Is it 6'8"? Andy, have you got that stat or not? Was that beyond you?
6'5", I think.
6'5". It's very tall. Here's Archer bowling. Oh, and he tries to get out of the way of that, and the ball follows him and hits something, possibly the glove, possibly the shoulder of the bat, and runs down into the slip cordon.
I thought he played well with a soft hand.
Archer digging it in. And he just managed to keep that down. One bounce to slip. When did that come off?
Gloves.
Gloves, yeah. Well, Archer looking for his 3rd wicket in the over. There is 1 ball left. Archer running in now, goes in and bowls to Shaheen Afridi, bowls him a slower ball, and he gets the bat down on it. Well played. Archer nearly deceiving him. Clever piece of bowling from Archer. He probably thought short again, but actually it was a full slower delivery. You've seen that before from Archer, of course, in one-day cricket, in T20 cricket. Well, Archer's 2 in and over there. 291 for 8. Shan Masood's 131 not out, and Shaheen Shah Afridi's yet to score.
It was not a bad ball against tail-ender, you know. He was thinking one way. It's a short ball coming in, and suddenly, you know, with Archer pace, you know, it can deceiving.
Yeah, and if he'd missed it, he'd have been plumb LBW as well. It was a straight ball. And he got the bat down just in time. Right, we are into potentially, not quite yet, but if another wicket falls, delayed tea territory. There's still 44 overs left in this day's play. An awful lot of cricket if the light holds. It's good at the moment, very good. Sun's out. Here is Bess bowling to Shan Masood, who slogs him into the leg side. 4. We'll wait and see where the ball's gone. It's gone for 6. Over deep mid-wicket. Shan Masood has decided it's time.
No, he decided this is the time to go on and take the spinner on. He was there to hit, and he picked the spot through mid-wicket.
Yeah, he's taking it on against the spin, but he's got license. He's in. He's been batting since the start of the innings. He's got 10 and 11 to keep him company for the rest of this innings. And 6 at the start of the over. Sibley's back on the deep mid-wicket boundary now. And mid-on and mid-off are quite deep. There's a deep cover. Root still fiddling with his field, or Best fiddling with his field. Actually, let's wait and see what he's settled on. He's bringing a man over from the offside to mid-wicket. So 5 men out, 4 inside the notional circle, including a slip. Best bowls, that keeps a bit low, and he goes back and tries to force it away and gets some bat on that just in time. He might well have hit that into his boot, and it rolled away backward square on the offside, and there was no run.
That was a quicker ball.
297 for 8. Here is Bess. Into the left hand. He's down the pitch again, hitting high in the air towards us. This is a big 6. Way over the rope. Way over Root's head. Into the long off boundary, down towards the Pakistan dressing room.
What a shot that was, coming down the wicket, and that's the same ball he missed when Butler missed the stumping chance. And that's the shot he practiced a lot. I was working with him in PSL, so this is the one area he worked really hard. So this is the time now, because he knows he's running out of with the partners.
The 300's up for Pakistan with that blow. 303 for 8, and Shan Masood up to 143. Best bowls. He gives himself some room, and Butler takes the ball and whips off the bails, but just missed the stumps. He was falling over backwards. He was away from the stumps, Shan Masood, completely lost balance there, and looks as if he's going to really take it on. He got his foot back as Butler nipped off the bails.
Yeah, he was giving himself a room and looking to go over extra cover. He was spun and bounced.
Yeah, it did. It turned over the middle stump. Turned and bounced over it. Well, this is entertaining stuff. The field is spread wide, but he's taking them on. Bess goes in and bowls, and this time he's pushing it back on the bounce to Bess. And there is no run. Right, there's one ball left in the over. The field is coming up, so what does Masood do here? Does he take it on, try to take it over the infield, or does he try and pinch a single somewhere? Field closing in. There's no one at deep mid-wicket now. There's no one at deep cover, all long on and long off. Everyone's closing in as if it's one to win in a one-day game. Tight field. Best goes in, bowls, and he smashes this away over Archer's head, out towards the long-on boundary. One bounce for 4.
That's a great batting from Shan Masood. He took on Bess in this over. Excellent stuff from Shan Masood. I think this is the right way to go because he knows he got one more wicket left. And I know it was the last ball. He could take a single, but he take the attacking option.
307 for 8. Yeah, the field is up. The boundaries are on offer, and you never know. Start of the next over. Shaheen Shah Afridi might somehow be able to pinch a single somewhere, leg by, or scoot through and get back on strike.
If it was the last wicket, then I understand, he was looking for a single, but he got another partner, so he goes for attacking option, which is, I think, brilliant batting from him.
Yeah, he's played splendidly. 147 not out, 17 fours and 2 sixes. But Archer's got what he wanted, which is Shaheen Shah Afridi on strike, the start of the next over. Here goes Archer into bowl to Shaheen, who drives in. There's an appeal for a catch behind. There was a sound. Archer was a polite appeal. There was more of an appeal from the slip fielders and the wicketkeeper. England have how many reviews left?
2 left.
2 left. Well, they're not going to review it, I don't think. The timer is going down towards 0. Archer's walking back to his mark. There was definitely a sound, but it felt as if it was
something was there
after the ball had gone past the bat.
It's way too far.
Yeah, there's daylight between ball and bat. Archer bowls, and that's nicely played, and there's the single. Onto the front foot, pushing it to the left of Dom Bess, and Shaheen is off the mark.
Well played.
The first of those 6s from Shah Masood in the last over took him to his highest test score. Previously was 135, now 147.
Was it Sri Lanka that was the highest score? Yeah, Yunus Khan partnership, famous partnership when they chased on.
Well, it was supposed to be all about Babar today, going to 100, 150, but it's Shan Masood who's upstaged him.
The 135 was was in December last year. That innings was 125 in the 2015 that match we were talking about.
Yeah, Panikin, Sri Lanka.
Root's sorting his field out for Shan Masood. There are 2 men back, 3 men back on the leg side boundary, and 2 slips in the gully. Here goes Archer. Bowls, short ball, swatted away into the onside. Tumbling save at deepest straight mid-wicket by Wokes, keeps it down to a single. So we're back with Shaheen, 309 for 8.
2 balls to survive. Come on, Shaheen, you were telling me. Sorry. 3 balls to survive. You were telling me about your batting.
Yeah.
This is the time to bat.
Well, nicely off the mark with a push into the offside. The first ball's a bit sketchy. Push outside the off stump, which he missed. Archer bowls to Shaheen, and he plays that well on the back foot to a ball that's short of a length, stunning it, taking the pace off it, and it was away from Pope at short leg into the onside. Pope had to run up the onside of the pitch to pick up, and there's no run. It's encouragement from Shan Masood, who comes down the pitch. It's well played. 2 more to go. Back with Archer at the far end. Archer with 3 wickets in this Pakistan innings, 3 for 45. He's in his 20th over, and he goes in now to bowl to Shaheen, who plays that well as well. On the back foot to a ball short of a length, guiding it into the offside. Burns steps forward from gully.
Archer must be looking at 5 for here because he got 3 wickets, so this is the time to run through the tail.
Moving towards tea. I think we might have time for 1 more over. It's 6 3/4 minutes to 4. Last ball of the over coming up. Of course, if Archer gets a wicket now, on we go, because that will be 9 down. Tea will be delayed. Archer bowls to Shaheen Afridi. Outside the off stump, well played. Lets it go. Through to Butler.
Well played.
And on we go. 309 for 8, and it means Shan Masood is on strike for the next over. And if the next over is as exciting as the last over, he's on strike to Dominic Best, then we're in for some fun. Unless England decide to change the bowling, say that's enough of Best. Let's have a look. What are they doing?
I think
Stuart
Broad is coming
Broad.
back.
Looks
Yeah.
like Stuart Broad.
And,
Root's seen enough of Shan Masood pummeling Dom Bess around Old Trafford.
yeah, I think that's the best move. I know it's a tough for Broad to come in for just 1 over if they survive this over before tea, but they don't want to give any extra runs to Shan Masood and Pakistan.
So 309 for 8. Out today for Pakistan. Babar for 69. Asad Shafiq for 7. Rizwan for 9. It's 176 for 5. England had an excellent morning session, but the afternoon has belonged to Pakistan. Got their score over 300. Shadab with 45. Yasir out for 5. And Mohammad Abbas for 0. 2 for Archer this afternoon. And 1 for Bess. And then this morning 1 for Wokes. 1 for Broad and 1 for Anderson.
I thought Pakistan was aggressive after the lunch, and England allowed them to be aggressive because they bowled 2 spinner up front before the second new ball, and Shan and Shadab took all their chances. They played really well. They rotated the strike really well.
Right, here's Shan Masood facing Stuart Broad. He's bowling round the wicket, and he drives, check drives, goes up to mid-off. Ben Stokes has come out of the slip corner. He's fielding it mid-off now, and there was no run. It's funny that, wasn't it? It's only 20-odd runs, but it just seemed to release the pressure that England have built, and it gave them some confidence as well. So when the new ball came, they had their eye in after lunch, and it felt like just free runs. It felt like a bit of a net actually, straight after lunch.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
Broad going into bowl. Clipped away, looking for 2 here, down towards deep back of square leg. He's touched down for 1, he's coming back for the second. Oh, could be a run out at the non-strikers end. Oh, it's a wild throw from Butler. The throw came into Butler, but Shaheen Shah Afridi had not run back for the second, and he could easily have been run out, but the throw back to the non-strikers end was wide from Butler, who's not having a great day. But someone who is having a great day is Shan Masood, because that's his 150. That's why he was so keen to come back for the second.
Yeah, excellent batting. One of the best innings you will see in these conditions, especially the quality of Broad, Anderson, Archer and Vokes, and tough times.
Well, over 100 runs today. Here's Broad going into bowl to him. He covers up, plays defensively towards mid-wicket, and there's no run. He'd been dismissed yesterday a couple of times on 45, but today he's been far more assured. He's looked solid, and he's played silkily as well as he's moved towards his 100 and beyond.
Reaches 150 from 311 balls, 2 sixes, 17 fours, his highest score in Test cricket. And looking at the breakdown of his innings, his first 50 took 157 balls, his second 50 94, and his third 50 just 60 balls.
Broad into bowl to Shan Masood, and he struck there on the arm. He went to play a guided pull. I think he threw the shot too quickly. It was quite a slow short ball from Broad, and it smacked into his arm, and he's down on the ground. Shaheen Shah Afridi is going up to see how he is. Yeah, he was through the shot far too quickly.
I think
Broad
Broad
shot
bowled-
his left elbow, left
Yeah,
forearm.
left elbow. I think Broad bowled the leg cutter type of delivery. He just rolled his finger to the ball.
And he's grimacing, so the physio is jogging out to have assess the situation.
This physio, Cliff, he's a ex-first class cricketer.
He's got a nice bruise building up on that left elbow, just above the left elbow.
He might get a magic spray and he will be fine.
Yeah.
Hopefully he will be fine, because the part of the arm near elbow is really painful.
It might just be on a slightly more fleshy bit above the elbow, actually, rather than on the bone.
Hopefully.
Just seeing a replay of the run out, and it's potential run out. And if Butler's throw had been half decent over the stumps to Broad, then I think that he would have been struggling, Shaheen Afridi. Butler had his gloves on, and sometimes you see wicketkeepers whip a glove off and then throw it, and it's easier to throw. And it sort of ballooned out at the top of the fingers.
The minute Sean played that shot, he was calling for 2. Shaheen need to respond to that straight away. So he knows he's a main partner here, so he has to respond to his call.
Right, the magic spray has been applied.
I was talking about this physio, Cliff.
Yeah.
He plays for Lion in South Africa, played, I think, 97 first-class games as well. He's an excellent physio. He's been brilliant with the boys.
He's gone off the field now, and Shan Masood is ready to take strike from Stuart Broad at 311 for 8. Broad goes in, bowls another short ball. Nicely pulled away by Shan Masood, down towards fine leg this time. It's a missed field down there, and if he'd run the first one hard, he could have got back for the second there. There were 2 fielders converging, and the first fielder who got there, I think, is Sibley in the distance, or is it Anderson? It's difficult to tell. He's a long way away, the far side of the ground, completely missed it.
He played this shot with full control and authority.
Yeah, it was Anderson, totally missing the ball. You don't see that happen very often. And Sibley was backing up behind him and prevented the ball going for 4.
Sean was not pushing here for 2. He knows only 1 ball left in this over.
Yeah, 1 ball to survive, and then Shan Masood can take strike first ball after tee. Unless this is a wicket. This
can have a tee off after that.
312 for 8. So Broad to Shaheen Afridi. Broad moves in now to bowl to him. And he nearly plays on there. Struck him on the pad and rolled back towards his leg stump and stopped about 5 centimetres from that leg stump. So he survives, and Shan Masood is there with him at the tee interval. He's played a magnificent innings. Nearly half of Pakistan's runs. He's been batting 106 overs. A couple of wickets for Archer in that lead up to tea has given England a lift, but Pakistan have got those runs on the board, and a very interesting test match developing. Tea on the second day, 312 for 8.
Excellent session for Pakistan, 35 over 125 runs, 3 wickets. So Pakistan will take it. England was all over in the first session, but I think second session belonged to Shan Masood and Pakistan.
Yeah, he's being clapped off by his teammates and the backup squad and all the backup staff in that Pakistan dressing room. Azhar as well.
I can clap as well.
Azhar to my left. Applause left and right. And he's deserved it as well, Shan Masood.
I think one of the best innings you will see, especially in these conditions. It was tough for him, but he's hanging there. He backed himself and he applied himself and end up getting a great total for himself and highest score for himself, 151, and then put Pakistan in a great position here.
Yeah, Archer 3 for 45 for England from 20 overs. Wokes 2 for 43 from 20 overs. Anderson 1 for 63 from 19. Broad 1 for 54 from 21. And Best 20 overs, 4 maidens, 1 for 74. And Joe Root 6 overs for 25 runs. The weather is okay at the moment. Clouds are high. And we've still plenty of cricket left in the day. We're into the tea interval, delayed tea interval because of the time lost to weather yesterday. So we can go on until 7 o'clock this evening. So we'll have a 2 hours 40 final session, something like that. And England looking for those 2 wickets before they can get batting and try and overhaul this Pakistan score of 312-8 as it stands at the moment, with Shan Masood 151 not out. Now, what are we going to see from Pakistan after tea, Azhar? And then it will be Jonathan A. How are they going to play it after tea?
Shan Masood got license to go and tee off, but if Shaheen hang in there with him, so if Pakistan manage to get another 20-30 runs, that will be very good for them. They can have a massive first inning score. This is a scoreboard pressure, and Pakistan have the resources to get 20 wickets. We saw pitches drawing, and it's a really good chance for them because they're playing 2 spinners and they have a bowling attack with likes of Shaheen Shah Afridi and Naseem Shah and Mohammad Abbas. He had a phenomenal record to his name.
Right, indeed. I'm looking forward to it. So you're going to have a cup of tea, and yes, we'll see some fiery fast bowling, I think, in this final session of the day. But England have still got a couple of wickets to get yet. 312 for 8 for that very much Pakistan's afternoon, and that's, I think, probably, I just checked with Andy, the highest number of sixes ever hit by a Stanford schoolboy in Test cricket. I'm just running that past you as a niche stat, I think you call them.
Yes, I think. Well, I don't know. I don't have a school filter on my.
Well, the other one is MJ.K. Smith. So I think
I imagine he probably didn't.
I think it probably is. Anyway, there we go. So well played, Shan Masood. He's reached his 150, and he'll be coming out for some more later.